Weekdays in Philly.
Valley and beyond. Bob Cooney here with you middays. Monday, beautiful. Coming over the bridge this morning, it was one of those bright, sunny days that it seemed like you could see every brick in the building of the skyline, Ray. It was that beautiful. How are you on this Monday morning, Mr. Ray Dunn?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope everybody out there had a great weekend. I love Mondays that start like this. Beautiful, crisp day. You know spring's right around the corner. I tell you, Ray, I get that first good thought in my head before I let my feet hit the floor. And what it was today was sports-related. And that's that the Phillies are opening later on this week. Love it. Can't wait. Thursday game, of course. Your fighting Phillies will open. We have some news there on them. We'll run that down in just a minute. But I want to tell you, special guest today, coming into the studio to hang out for a little bit from 12 to 1. NBC Sports Philadelphia's Amy Fudlong, longtime friend of mine, of this station, of pretty much everyone in the Delaware Valley. So Amy will be coming in. We'll talk some great stuff with her. I like bringing in people that Amy's obviously doing the Sixers pre and post with Jimmy Lynam and Mark Jackson, but Amy's just a sports nut all around. So we'll hit on everything with her, which will be great. We have a lot going on this week, which we'll get into a little bit. Not only Phillies later on in the week, but we have a whole bunch of stuff coming up. I got a text from Tom McCarthy this morning, so he's going to be joining us at some point this week. We're going to have a lot of great guests for you again, and it starts with Amy today. So we'll have Amy at 12, which will be a lot of fun. Okay, looking back on this weekend in sports.
Now, the front page. The stories everyone's talking about. 97.5, The Fanatic.
All right, your Philadelphia 76ers have to be the story of the weekend. Great win yesterday over the Clippers. They looked really good. I mean, really good. I defined it yesterday, and Ray, I don't know if I put this in a text to you or somebody else. They won that game yesterday more than the Clippers lost it. It wasn't that the Clippers came out and you're like, oh, my God, where are they? What are they doing? Are they just coming off of a road trip? No, I really felt like the Sixers went out and won that game. And it started with Tobias Harris. He gets the first 7 points of the game for you. Finishes up with 24. Very good game from him. Positive. He was that guy that we described earlier this season, that when he does what Nick Nurse asks, and that's make a decision right away when he catches the ball, good things are going to happen. Well, that's what it was yesterday for Tobias Harris, 24 points. Tyrese Maxey also. A very, very solid win over the Clippers. Sixers Friday night didn't look that good against the Lakers, but as Nick Nurse talked about yesterday, and if you watch the game, he was exactly right. Sixers got a lot of open shots on Friday night against the Lakers. Lost by 7, but shot only 33 of 96 from the floor. Horrible. Compared to yesterday, 48 of 90. They were confident. They were hitting open shots. Campaign gave you a really good game off the bench. 41 points in the first quarter. That said a lot as to where they were yesterday. So the fact that the offense is running well enough where they're getting good shots in both of those games, and then when they dropped, they took care of the Clippers yesterday. Sixers have the Sacramento Kings tonight, 10 o'clock game. Then they come home. So tonight's the second end of a back-to-back. 7 o'clock game out west. What they do is they'll play the game, do their media obligation and everything after, and they'll get on a plane right away. And they'll probably land here 4, 5, 6 in the morning, somewhere around there. So tomorrow's ruined for them. It'll be a day off, obviously. And then they're right back at it again on Wednesday night against those Clippers. And the Clippers are going to be ready. They're going to be ready to go against this Sixers team. Good news is, as we had Ramona Shelburne on on Friday say Joel Embiid seems to be ramping it up. So I think once all the media people get home, the team gets home, all of that, we'll probably have word about Joel Embiid. Wednesday morning, they'll probably have a shoot-around, so maybe we'll hear something about him as early as that. Sixers are currently in that 8th spot of the Eastern Conference standings, just a half a game out of 6, which is Indiana. You want to get that so you don't have to play the play-in game. We'll see how it falls out. I just have it in my head they're going to be in the play-in tournament somewhere, somehow, some way. But if this team is feeling something like, I don't know, maybe they got a phone call Saturday after the Lakers game, and it was Joel and said, I'm feeling great, boys. Keep it up. When you come home, I'm not going to be far off. Maybe that was the little extra light that gave them that spurt that they had against the Clippers yesterday. Your Philadelphia Flyers, how do you label the weekend? You went overtime loss to Carolina, at Carolina on Thursday. I said it on Friday. I'll take that. Every day of the week, I will take that. Saturday, gutsy, good win over the Boston Bruins, a really, really good team. That, perfect. Put that in there. Last night, they got thumped by Florida. Get down 3-0. They score a goal, try to make a little bit of a comeback. They were putting a lot of pressure on Florida, a lot of pressure. But they couldn't get anything home. Sean Couturier comes back to the lineup on Saturday, plays Saturday and Sunday. Was a -2 on Sunday, did nothing on Saturday. I understand John Tortorella's frustration with him, kind of out there and just giving you nothing. Felix Sandstrom wasn't very good yesterday, obviously in the eyes of John Tortorella, because he was asked about it after the game, and he gave it the old, hands up in the air with the thumb wrapped in plastic, all of that stuff, banging on the podium, and then just proceeds to walk off. Are you okay with the way John Tortorella is handling things down the stretch? We can look at a young team, a young goalie, all that, and say, well, they've never been in this spot before. Are they handling it okay? Is John Tortorella handling it okay? Is he doing what this team needs? Maybe he is. Maybe the Couturier stuff was just what he needed. You got a win against Toronto. You got some good wins out of it against Toronto when Couturier was out, an overtime loss when he was out. Then your backup goalie, you're asked about him, and you just walk off the podium. I don't know. We can certainly talk about that. Flyers at 81 points, 3rd in the Metropolitan, and 3 up on the final wild card spot, if I'm doing that right. 2 wild cards are kind of set, and then you got the Red Wings 3 points behind the Flyers. So they're holding on there. Phillies, I guess you can't say great news coming out of the weekend. I heard John and Andrew talking about it. Couldn't disagree with John Moore about the questioning the flu thing. But look, he's got something going on. It could be. No comparison whatsoever. To compare ourselves to professional athletes is ridiculous. But one time, Ray, after a Sixers season, I often got run down after a Sixers season. I got towards the end of the season. I got the flu so bad, I was in bed for 8 straight days. Like, I did nothing but get up, go to the bathroom, and go back to sleep for 8 days. It was 12 days before I could even think of going back to Sixers practice. I walked in, and Brett Brown looked at me like, oh, my God, I had lost a ton of weight. Something got me really good. I don't know what it is. All I had to do was get up and go interview people. All I had to do was get up and talk. I mean, I didn't have to throw a 98-mile-an-hour fastball. I didn't have to have my body ready to do something at a professional athletic level. As John said correctly, you hope it's nothing more. But, yeah, I could see a flu wiping you out for a few weeks, especially when you have to perform at a level that a professional athlete has to perform. So he's out with sickness. Taijuan Walker has the shoulder situation. I think they'll both go on IL, so they won't be there to start the season. Good story by Mike Sealski today, I believe it was, talking about, was it Sealski? Maybe somebody else. But there's a good story running around today in Inquirer.com about where is Kirkering going to be? How long is it going to take for him to ramp up to get where he needs to be? As we know, 162-game season. Okay, Philly's going to have up some back-end relievers to fill out the bullpen there. Johan Rojas, as Jake Cave gets traded, it looks like he is your starting center fielder come Thursday. I'm okay with it. We talked about it. We've debated it an awful lot. I'm okay with him starting the season in center field. Let him play his defense, get his at-bats, see where he is. But I wouldn't even put that on him. I would just, if I was Rob Thompson, I would come out and say, he's our starting center fielder. I'm not saying until, I'm not saying if. I'm just saying he's a starting center fielder. I'm giving him that vote of confidence. Aaron Nola had a great outing yesterday. Last one, tune-up before the season, 5 2/3 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. It was such a beginning of that game, which I watched. It was such a start of a game the way I want the Phillies to go, or the way I see them going. Aaron Nola goes out on the mound, gives up a single, gives up a walk, first and second, and then strikes out guys to get out of the inning and throws 20-plus pitches, and you're like, ugh, all right, come on, settle down. Phillies come up. Bryson Stott's leading off because Kyle Schwarber still has a stomach ache. So there's something obviously going around that Phillies clubhouse. But Bryson Stott leads off, gets you a 2-strike single. Had 82 of them last year. Gets a 2-strike single, steals second on the first pitch, and then Trey Turner gets a single. He scores, boom, 1-0. Bryce Harper then hits the ball to the right side, moves Trey Turner over to second base. Alec Boehm gets a single, boom, 2-0. And then you put Nola in, he settles down, has a great 4 2/3 innings after that, and the Phillies go on and play that way. I can see many games starting like that for Aaron Nola this year, or at least that's the hope. I don't think Schwarber's going to lead off with a single and then steal second, but we'll see. Get him an early lead. It's all good. Last day of spring training game today at noon. So we'll see how that plays out, and then they come back up here, and Thursday afternoon we have baseball. Eagles, no news is fine with me. It's okay right now. Let it go. Hopefully there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff going on. They did sign quarterback Will Grier from the Cowboys, West Virginia. Ray was skipping in the hallways today. He was so excited about that signing. But no news is okay right now. I'm all right. Figure things out when things get closer. The draft coming up, and of course the Hassan Reddick situation is hanging over your head. But they'll figure that out. We'll have answers when we need them. NCAA, lots of great games. I watched nonstop pretty much this whole weekend. A lot of overtime games. I thought the Oakland, North Carolina State game on Friday night. Was that Friday? That was Friday night. Saturday? I don't know. Saturday. A lot of fun. Our boy Jack Golke. I had a way to play him. I don't know why they were just trying to deny him the ball all over the place and then getting hit with screens or getting pump fake. I would have denied him the basketball from the high side, not from the low side to force him outside of the three-point line. Deny him from the high side. It's unconventional. It looks weird, but now you're forcing him to go where the opening is, and that's inside the three-point line. You would have taken him away there, but that was a great game. NC State comes out of that. Cream of the crop, Connecticut just seems to be it. When you're a team that no matter who you go out and play, I don't care what sport, what level it is, and you don't care about the opponent, you play your game, and in the case of Connecticut, run all over them, I just think that it's going to take a major upset or really bad play, uncharacteristic play from Connecticut to get ousted in this. Go to the girls' side a little bit, Caitlin Clark, all that stuff. Kim Mulkey, go away, get lost. Stop making it about yourself. I'm so tired of it. I don't like your outfits. I haven't liked it for years. Look, I'm all for having the back of your players and stuff, but don't tell me all the time how you have the back of your players, because that's pointing the arrow to you. Don't tell me that somebody's writing a smear piece on you and that it's not fair to the players. Well, call your players aside and say, hey, they're going to write a smear piece on me. Don't worry about it. You don't have to come out nationally and make the story about you. If that's her goal, to take the pressure off of her kids and put all of it on her, okay, I guess there's some understanding to that. But just to me, from afar, she certainly seems like a coach that likes to have the spotlight on her while she says she's deflecting it from her kids. Last bit of thing from the weekend. They got their first win this year, Ray. First one. That's right, your Philadelphia Union. They get a 3-1 win over Portland on Saturday night, first win of the season. Way to go, Jim Curtin. We're going to have him on later on this week. So, eventful week. There's your kind of set on what happened this weekend. And, Ray, maybe one of the because we had the Flyers. We had yesterday Sixers, Flyers, and Phillies. I started watching the Phillies. NCAA tournament. All of those things. This was one of the greatest sports weekends because of where teams are and all what I just mentioned that I can remember in a long, long time.
Oh, I had a lot of fun. This was a great weekend of sports watching. You had plentiful opportunities, and if something was disappointing you, it was very easy to switch to something else. You know what? This isn't going the way I wanted to, or this is just a bad game, which I think it was the tournament. It was the Purdue game in the tournament that led right into the Sixers, and Purdue got up by double digits, and I was like, well, this game's over. Utah State, nice season, good for you. Aggies, it's done. I'll check in with Aggies again later tonight when it's Texas A&M. I'm moving over to the Sixers. I'm going to enjoy my afternoon with the Sixers. And it was great because that was the way this weekend was. If you didn't like what was in front of you, there was a number of options for you to watch something else.
I can't. I came to the conclusion I can't do the quad box. I can't.
That's a shame. If you want to give me the login, I would be happy to do it.
Is there anybody else out there that's like, you think there's more people like that? Or
yes, there are. My dad's that way. He can't do the quad box.
Is it
I don't want to say it's a generation thing. I was going to say generation. I wasn't going to use the three-letter word that I think you were going down the
No,
path
I wasn't going down there. I just can't. I can't do it. It's not the way I can watch games. I have to be into a game. But you're right. When a game gets to be 32-10 and, there's 2 minutes to go in the half, boom, I'm switching to another game. I'm trying to find the story that's out there. You had a great series of overtime games this weekend. A lot of chalk did kind of go down. Not as I don't think, Ray, if my memory serves correct, that there was as many upsets as there was last year, where you had so many high seeds going on. But just a great slew of games, and to see those kids out there like a Jack Golke, who probably had the best line of the weekend, of the week. It might have been before. He says, playing Kentucky, he goes, yeah, those guys are going to be playing in the NBA next year. I'll be selling insurance. I love that. That's kind of the nutshell.
He might be able to take a year off. The money he made NIL-wise this weekend.
Good point.
You know what? You go travel the world, kid. Insurance will be there when you come back.
He has a skill set, which is obviously shooting three-pointers that you say, oh, can it go to the next level? Sorry, Jack, I don't see you playing in the NBA.
No.
I just don't. I can't. For example, you take what popped into my mind this weekend, a Jimmer Fredette, say, from years back, a guy who was solely a three-point shooter and scorer. But that guy has an athleticism that Golke just doesn't have. And it's not there. It's a great story. I love watching players like that. But, no, it's not going to translate. He got what he got out of himself, and it's awesome. And Oakland was probably my most fun team to watch so far.
Now, if you're a G League general manager and you want to pipe in some ticket sales for a weekend.
Look, in order for him to get open, you have to have a lot of guys that are willing to set picks, to do things to get him open.
I'm not telling you I think he's going to make it in the pros. I'm saying that would someone give him the shot just for, oh, look, Golke's here for the week. Golke's playing with us for right now.
Strike while the iron's hot, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, but it's going to be, just from what I think, it'd be a little bit of a disappointment. You're not going to have four guys out there looking to set, or three guys and one guy posting up like, oh, let's get Golke open.
It reminds me, it was, Max Hooper that was the last Oakland guy that was like this, that was just shooting. When was the last time you heard about
now Max Hooper?
When was the last time you heard from Max Hooper? I mean, that's kind of the mold we're following here. So, yeah, you're right.
I texted Max to try to be a guest on the show, but he didn't get back to me.
Really?
So, yeah. No.
Oh, you and Max Hooper go back?
Really. DJ Burns was fun to watch on Saturday night also. Our favorite player from North Carolina State. God, that kid's strong.
So, I have a confession to make.
Okay.
And I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
No, I'm going to apologize because we talked so much about DJ Burns in the first week of this show that when I was filling out the bracket, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm just going to take NC State to go to the Sweet 16 because, we talk so much about DJ Burns. It would be a good story. It'd be a lot of fun. I woke up Thursday morning, and I was like, nah, let me just roll with. Let me just put Texas Tech in there. I feel better about that. Well, as it turns out, I'm a little bit of an idiot, and that one came back to bite me. So next time I will pick strictly with my heart and not with my head.
Okay, I don't encourage you to do that often. Like I told you, my dad's only advice to me about betting was bet with your head, not with your
Oh,
heart.
good thing I'm not betting. I'm just picking.
That's right. Good point. But he's fun to watch. At some point, you got to think that team's going to like hit a wall. They played 5, 6, 7 games in 12 days.
Yeah,
That's a lot of basketball.
They enjoyed yesterday. The day off yesterday definitely was much needed, especially considering I bet they enjoyed that victory just a little bit.
You know what's weird too? And I know I said something on these airwaves. And look, I've seen a million basketball games just like all of you out there have, and you, Ray, have also. The guy's got a different physique. To me, he's listed 6'9", 275. I joked. I said he's a cheeseburger short of a 300. He's more than that. He's a big physical guy. I love his finesse game. I love his power game. Like, that's just what it is. If somebody's 7'2", you're going to say he's 7'2". If somebody's 295, you're going to say it. Same way if a guy's 5'3". Why did, I guess it was CBS, whoever, they have the announcer go over and talk to him after the game and they bring him a tub of ice cream?
Yeah.
That's crap.
It is.
I didn't like that at all.
Especially for a guy that in a game that went to overtime played 42 minutes.
Exactly.
Like you can talk all you want about the physique of a player, but ultimately the shape he's in at his weight, whatever it is way better than any of the shape that the rest of us are in.
Yeah.
You out there that's like, oh, look at it. Look at how big DJ Burns is. You're not playing 42 minutes of 45.
And guess what? Watch DJ Burns when he posts up. You have guys that are setting 2 feet on the opposition and throwing 2 forearms into his back to try to move him. That's not a lot of fun. Even though you're a lot bigger than those guys, they're still 6'10", 225.
Yeah, they still also have a strength and conditioning coach, too.
Yeah, exactly. So I just didn't appreciate that. I don't know what that ice cream bit was about. That was horrible.
Yeah, I don't like it.
But I love all the little side stories that go on with the NCAA tournament. I thought it was a great weekend. 10 o'clock hour, it's brought to you by Window Nation. Take advantage of Window Nation's 50% off sale on all style windows. Plus, make no down payment with no payments and no interest for 12 full months. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com. Okay, when we get back, I hit on it a little bit when we were giving you the news of the weekend. I think a corner may have been turned. I think it's a little bit bigger than, it was just a win here. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe you feel the same way. We would love to hear from you. We're going to talk about the 76ers. 610-632-0975. Call in. Love to talk to you. You know how much we love our conversations. But also, if you can't right now, if you hit the same number on a text, we'll get to that also. This is Midday Show, Bob Cooney. back to this beautiful Monday morning. My drive in, not a cloud in the sky. And I love it. I love driving. Getting on the Ben Franklin Bridge is the way I come in. And when you have a day like today, I can't wait to see the skyline from the top of the bridge and look all around from South to North Philly. I mean, it was just gorgeous out there today. So I hope you're enjoying it after a horrible Saturday. Saturday was just gross. We usually go out and do errands on Saturday, right? You know, we have to do shopping for the family and all that.
Right.
So usually we get up and we're out of the house by like 10:30 and get all that stuff done so we can have the rest of the day for ourselves. Yeah, man, we were jamming with the guitar too. So my wife's like, well, why don't we just wait until it's supposed to be done by like 3 o'clock? And I'm like, I can't stand shopping at 3 o'clock. Like, when I have stuff to do, I want to get it out of the way to free us up for the rest of the day because you never know if something's going to pop up. So we went out, ran our errands, did all that stuff. We were home. It was still pouring rain. I get home and I'm sitting on the couch and I go to turn the first game on. I am literally shivering. I didn't realize it because, you know, when you go shopping, I would pull up. I would walk out to get the car. I don't do umbrellas because I'm an idiot. But I walk out to get the car. I'd pull it up so that my wife and son wouldn't get wet. And then, you know, I carried in the groceries. And so I was like, you know what? I got to go take another shower. Like, I am freezing here. I go and take off the sweatshirt that I had on. I didn't realize I was soaking wet. It was Saturday sucked. But then at least it cleared up. Sunday was beautiful. I talk to you about my friends a lot, right? And
Right.
I am so fortunate to have a group of many, many, many groups of friends.
Sick brag.
So I said I'm fortunate enough. So yesterday, it was more like, you know, the girls that my wife grew up with and their husbands, who are all great friends of both of ours now. But that's how, you know, I got to meet this group of friends. We all met out for lunch yesterday over near, you know, my hometown. And, man, it was awesome. It was only going to be 6 people. Wound up being like 13. People just kept coming. Tables kept getting pulled together. You know, those are like the best kind of days, the ones you don't plan out, like you have with your friends. You meet, you know, you're going over your buddy's house to watch the game, but the way it plays out, maybe the girlfriend gets up and starts making cheesesteaks, right?
Great work by Katie on that one last week. That was good stuff.
That was a bomb.
I was not expecting that. I was ready to open my DoorDash app and get my own food there. And the next thing you know, next to my beer appears a cheesesteak. It was good stuff.
That is awesome.
It was a wonderful, wonderful night Thursday night.
That's a friendship you're going to have for a lifetime.
Absolutely.
And it'll never quit. That's the best thing. Yeah, so one of the first subject I wanted to bring up today to talk to you about, and I kind of teased it a little bit before. I don't think yesterday's Sixers win was just maybe the Clippers didn't show up. As John Kincade alluded to, that James Harden had 1 foot out of the gym because he was going. They had an afternoon special at the local strip club. You know, so I didn't take it that way. And I'm not saying this against John. I really thought the Sixers came out with some certainty yesterday. I thought that they really came out with a kind of vibe of, we got to take this one. We know how we have to take it, and we got to go out and get it this way. And no more so than the play of Tobias Harris. And you can look at it and say, oh, yeah, well, he put up 24 points and 11 for 19, but, you know, he should do that. I understand. But sometimes you have to look at the way a guy does something. Tobias Harris can be good if he plays the way he did yesterday, and that's with a certainty about him. That is with like an anxiousness of, all right, I catch the ball, I got to do something right now. I got to go. Or sometimes he was teamed up against James Harden. So what is it? That's a one-on-one situation where you look at the boys and you say, everybody, Red Sea this one, okay? Because I just want to take this guy one-on-one. He did that many times, confidently. I thought the whole team was real confident. And then when I read the story today, I think I kind of figured out one of the reasons why. Nick Nurse pulled him aside after that Lakers. You got to label it an ugly loss when your team shoots 33 for 96 from the floor. And Nick Nurse pulled him aside and said, guys, think about it. You had open shots. You ran the offense well. You didn't make shots. Like, for whatever reason, you didn't make shots tonight. And you have a chance, a rarity in the NBA, to play in this exact same gym in less than 48 hours. The shots are going to be there. Have confidence you're going to make them. And good things are going to happen. And that's what happened right off the bat yesterday. When you see that the place where we were failed to put on the Sixers game at 3:30. Multiple TVs with multiple sporting events failed to put on the Sixers at 3:30. So multiple asking of questions. Can we please get it on? Sure, I'll do it. No, had to ask somebody else. By the time we finally got it on, the Sixers had scored like 17 points or whatever, en route to a 41-point first quarter. That's cool. Like, that's good. Nick Nurse's coaching, having confidence in them after a bad 7-point loss, to me, that's great. That's a guy that has his thumbprints on this team, and they go out and execute. And Tyrese Maxey, only 5 points in the first half, but 19 in the second. Probably more of the, hey, Ty, you're okay. The shots are there. You're going to be fine in this second half. He goes out and does that. Campaign comes off the bench and has a terrific game. B-Ball Paul had a move off of a pass early in the game with a reverse layup. That was just, I don't think I've seen him do it this year. He does some really cool hustle things, but that was like a really good basketball play where he got his feet set, caught the ball under, knew to use the rim as a protection, and went up and hit a nice layup there. They looked good yesterday. They had 32 assists on 48 made field goals. That's sharing the basketball. That's finding the right guy. That's playing the game the way it's supposed to be played. And that's how they have to do it in order to score 120 points. Because without Joel Embiid, it's a struggle. Now I bring up Joel Embiid. And as I'm driving in this morning, I hear the morning show with Kincade and Salciunas replay the interview that we had with Ramona Shelburne on Friday. And talking about the great thing that she said, Rick Pitino's line is, Larry Bird ain't walking through that door anytime soon. And she says, yeah, but Joel Embiid is for these Sixers. And I think it's going to happen. I really do. And I think maybe the team thinks it's going to happen. And there just seemed, and I've seen it a million times, there seemed to be a little bit extra pep in the step of the Sixers yesterday. And when shots are falling and you're winning like that, God, yeah, it's easier to play basketball. But is there something in the back of their mind that says, you know what, big guy's coming back soon? They didn't play Nick Batum yesterday, day of rest. Kyle Lowry sat yesterday, right? Day of rest. So you'll have them tonight. Really, really tough coming back and playing at home on Wednesday. I always looked at the schedule after a West Coast trip with the hope, and it was selfish, but I'll say it was for the team, that you had 2 days off before you started your next game. The fact that they have to come back Wednesday night against the Clippers, that's tough. But you don't want to overlook. You got a game tonight, Sacramento Kings, winnable game, obviously. What are you looking for? Is 1 foot out the door? Did Nick Nurse do something great in holding back Kyle Lowry and Nick Batum? And now, boom, you can go to those guys with full rest. I anticipate another good performance tonight. I mean, is there a possibility that Joel Embiid is in the back of their mind? Could be, but more importantly, is he in the back of your mind? Because talking to Ramona Shelburne the other day and the information that I gathered when I was down there last Sunday before they went away on the road trip, I do believe that they believe that he is going to be coming back with maybe a week or so to go in the regular season. Does that give you hope? Does that give you legitimate, yeah, you know what? I forgot how good they were when they were 26-8 and Joel Embiid was on the floor. Maybe. And the obvious question, well, what kind of shape is he going to be in when he gets back? I had this conversation. I don't think you were there, Ray. I thought it was with somebody else. Joel Embiid, from the time I was around him and from the people I talked to that are around him since I stopped doing the beat, I think we agree. He's an extremist. He is an extremist. And the extreme when he was young was he was overeating. He was doing the Shirley Temples way too much to the point of they had to break in. They had to get to him, stop it. An extremist. We saw him going to fast food after games. Why? We saw him dancing at a concert when he had a knee injury that he wasn't supposed to be doing while they were in the middle of the playoffs or getting ready for the playoffs. All of those things lead to him, in my summation, as being kind of an extremist, which is okay in other ways because he's an extremist in the way he studies the game, in the way he wants to be like Hakeem Olajuwon, like he wants to be like Michael Jordan, and studies film of them and wants to copy them on the floor. I think he's gone the complete other way. We notice that he's not out and about all that much anymore. We notice that he's always talking about being a family man and wanting to be with his kid at home and taking care of his body. I think he's gone to the extreme that way. I think it won't take as much time for Joel Embiid to come back and be in good shape, unlike maybe some other times when he came back and it was going to take him a few games. Well, is he going to have to get in basketball shape? No question about it. But I think he's going to be a lot closer to it when and if he comes back. And I really do. I think it's going to happen, Ray. And I think we'll get word on it probably Wednesday. I think it's shoot around. We might be able to get a little bit more word because Nick Nurse will be here, be able to talk to Joel Embiid, and we'll see how that all plays out. So we have that on the board for you. Also, I'm going to dip into John Tortorella a little bit. And one of our great YouTubers, I want to mention what he thinks that I think about John Tortorella. I'm not sure if I'm where he is, but I want to let that be known. A lot of stuff to talk about today. Amy Fadul is going to be joining us at 12 o'clock. She's going to sit in with us from 12 to 1, so I can't wait to talk to Amy, longtime friend. And also, I want to talk to you, 610-632-0975. We're here until 2. This is Middays with Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic.
The Philadelphia Phillies. 2022, they advanced to the World Series. Last season, they went as far as the NLCS. For 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Monday morning after a exhausting sports weekend. We just had Brendan Petrilli was in our studios, and he says, you think people are worn out after this weekend? It's a legitimate question, sports-wise. Like, can you get too much? Because 8 o'clock last night, right, you know what my Sunday getaway is at 8 o'clock on Sunday night.
Tournament of Champions.
Tournament of Champions, and we're talking cooking. Now, the first two, I think there were 4. The first 3, I liked the contestants. The last one, I didn't like the contestants, so I didn't watch. I'll be honest, it was my main viewing, but I was switching back and forth between that and basketball still. But Brendan brings up a good point. Could sports have just worn you out this weekend? It was 8 o'clock last night, and I'm watching cooking instead of solely watching NCAA basketball. I think there could be some truth to it. No?
No. What is this?
Not
Spencer
for us?
Howard needs his PB&J sandwich after running to first base. I mean, come on. This is some weak energy from people saying we get worn out by the sports.
Well, he was asking, I think.
Yeah.
And I said, do you think any of the listeners or callers or anything are just tired of sports today?
I'm willing to put it out to the people as a question. I'm going to give you my answer of I think that's weak.
Okay.
I think.
Now, you have to be honest with yourself. We're all huge, huge sports fans. And I'm not going to lie to you. From the time we left this station at 2:30 on Friday afternoon till I got home until last night, it was, honest to God, nonstop sports.
Yeah.
But if we're being honest with ourselves, you can say, oh, yeah, I could watch sports all the time. Was there a point that you said, I don't know, I might be getting a little tired of it?
Was it a fatiguing sports watch, though? Like, okay,
if it's
76ers,
good, it's not.
Well, 76ers, like, okay, they're fighting for a postseason spot. Flyers are as well, so, you know, there is an energy to the games. Did you legitimately have a lot of energy in every single college basketball game you watched? Like, I watched all of them excited to watch them, but I wasn't living and dying with every bucket of, like, oh, my team, anything but how dare, my team fall in this one? I can't, I had some stories I was following. Like last night, I'll be honest with you. It was a hard watch for Houston because I was like, that's my national champion. I don't want my national champion out after opening weekend. That's really, make me look dumb.
Sure.
So I prefer that not to be the case. Well, I feel dumb sometimes with that.
No, you shouldn't.
A&M ties it up, and I'll be honest, I was a bit of a bear to watch. My roommate was watching the game with me in the overtime, and that was one where I put a lot of effort into consuming the product. Where you're actually invested in terms of the emotionally spent by the time it's over.
Okay.
I only think there were, I think you had a couple of games, but what, two Flyers games in a weekend? That's not totally unheard of. The Sixers playing 2 games in 3 days, not totally unheard of. That would mean you had to have spent a lot of energy in, oh man, this team, you must be sweating bets at that point. I think that's what it is. If you came out of this weekend exhausted by the sports, you had a little bit too much invested in the college game.
Maybe. I did find myself at one point wondering, as Saturday was just a horrible day, as we talked about, so I'm in the house by 12 o'clock because we went out early and got everything done. And the first thing I do is turn on sports and watch it until I built a fire that night on Saturday. So I went down into my, to the second floor and where the fireplace is. So I sat there and watched sports from 6:30 until like midnight while my wife and daughter watched, guess what movie? Barbie.
Oh.
Yeah. So she looked at me at one point, my wife did, and Donna's like, I think Jen and I are going to watch a movie tonight. And as soon as she said it, it was kind of like, you can come if you want, but like, I know you're not going to. And I'm like, oh, which one? And she's like, Barbie. Yeah, I'm good. Thanks.
Did they enjoy their movie?
They did. They thought it was very, very cute.
That's good.
Yeah. And I enjoyed the time down by myself. I chopped some wood that afternoon. So I brought some in from out back. I have a wood splitter in the garage. So I sat, chop. Chopped a lot of wood, Ray. So I had a real good time sitting in front of the fireplace by myself watching sports.
Sounds wonderful.
But at one point I was like, wow, I've watched a lot of sports and I'm going to watch a lot more tomorrow. It's when you have a family and stuff, maybe it's more noticeable.
Maybe.
Instead of just hanging with the friends and watching it and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a jam-packed sports weekend.
It was.
Yeah.
You had to, I guess you did have to, extend some energy to watch that much. But I feel like I didn't come
Energy
out this
well
weekend spent.
Yeah.
Now, Bob, I have to hit the sounder. Because
Okay.
Something's happened in the sports world.
Ooh.
Breaking sports news from 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
It's massive. It is a huge
What team
deal.
does it concern?
It is your Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh.
Wide receiver Quez Watkins
Oh, boo.
has signed with the Steelers. I know a lot of people this offseason came in with big question marks on what was going to happen with a premier wide receiver on this team. That one's answered. That one's answered right there.
Okay.
Quez Watkins to the Steelers.
That was a bad tease by you.
Does Quez get the tribute video when the Steelers come to town this year?
All right, so that's something else we were talking about, too. I'm going to push back my John Tortorella thoughts and Neil Devers' opinion of what I think. We'll talk about that next segment. So let's get into this. Yesterday, I didn't notice it. Ray saw it because, like I said, we were out having lunch while I was watching the Sixers game, so I didn't have any sound to tell me that they did a video tribute to Robert Covington, Nick Batum, and KJ Martin.
Yes, I saw that earlier today and on Twitter. I didn't see it while I was watching the actual game, but I saw that was something that was done by the Clippers. Very, very classy, of course, by LA there to acknowledge three of its franchise's all-time greats.
Good on them. Yeah, way to go.
Very, very sweet of them.
Yes.
So do you get the...
So it begs the question now.
The Harden? Well, also the P.J. Tucker. You can't forget, you can't just do the Harden one. It's got to be Harden and P.J. Tucker dual feature.
P.J. Tucker. Oh, is he even...
Yeah,
I didn't even notice him on the floor yesterday.
Yeah, no, him and Tyrese were talking post game. Tobias and him were talking post game. He was there. He was dressed up. He was not playing.
Not participating.
Yeah, no, he was street clothes, as they say.
You know what's weird? If you threw a P.J. Tucker video tribute up there, the fans would be like, okay, golf clap. Okay, all right, buddy. Thank you. You throw a James Harden up there? I don't know. I don't know how that's going. We might have to find out during this break because we have ways to find out if, in fact, they are planning a video tribute to James Harden. How is that received, Ray? You're sitting in the stands. You have season tickets. You're sitting in the stands. They do a video tribute, middle of the first quarter, that timeout with 6 minutes to go in the first quarter. And all of a sudden you look up and there's James Harden throwing the little pocket pass to a breaking Joel Embiid for a slam dunk. Or there's Harden doing his step back three, boom, nailing it in a Sixers uniform. What's the reaction of the fans?
I mean, as soon as it starts and they see James Harden, it's going to be a boo.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, as cool, let's remove the emotions of how it ended. Actually, I can't. I'm sorry. I tried to actually set that up as I think I could remove it myself from all of this. No, I'm still upset.
Did Ben Simmons get a video tribute?
Did he?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I'll bet you, if I had to be, I don't remember even a little bit if he did or didn't. If I was a betting man, I would say he probably did.
I'm curious, though, is there the one person out there that's looking forward to, we need the James Harden video tribute?
Yeah, is it a meeting? Like, do Sixers people sit in meetings and go, hey, we got P.J. Tucker and James Harden coming to town. What are we thinking? Or, hey, Jeremy Grant's coming back.
Yeah, the best is what you have to do. You have to give P.J. Tucker the video tribute and not James Harden because P.J. Tucker was very clear. He was not the one that wanted to be traded.
So you do it for him, and then at the end you say, and thank you, James Harden.
Thanks, James Harden.
Or put a little crawl underneath.
That's it. Thank you, P.J. Tucker. We want the P.J. Tucker video tribute.
We could do that. Hey, Amy Fadul's going to be joining us 12 to 1 today. Going to have a great conversation with her. Can't wait to hang out with her. We have a busy week that I'll draw out for you when we get back. Also, I do want to get into this John Tortorella talk because the word I've used over and over and over again is intrigued. Now he did some stuff this weekend that it went a little bit past maybe my intrigue. It kind of went towards, do I agree? I'll let you know what I'm talking about. All that and more. Middays, Bob Cooney here at 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
76ers, stop the slide. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by AAA. Even the most skilled drivers experience mishaps on the road. That's why you should join AAA.
HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. Coming up at 2, the best show ever with Tyrone Johnson, Ricky Batalico, and Jen Scordo. Right now, it's Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And thanks for coming back with us. Hope you're having a great Monday. Mondays in general kind of suck, but when you get into the car or go outside and you have this kind of weather, it makes it a little bit easier. Plus, we just talked about having an exhausting but terrific sports weekend, the likes of which I don't remember if you consider where all the teams are and what they're all vying for. It was pretty cool, and this is going to be a really cool week. I want to map this out for you before I get to Neil Deaver. I am not going to roast you, buddy. I don't do that. I actually appreciate the way you said something in our YouTube chat. So today, Amy Fadul, 12-1. She's going to join us here in studio. Amy's just like a bundle of, you know, Ray, how there's these certain people that when they walk into a room, everybody just gets to be in a better mood. I was at Comcast, the old Comcast, on Amy's first day of work because we were doing Daily News Live or whatever. So her first day of work, I met her. And nervousness, of course, whatever, what she was feeling and all. But, like, handled it like a pro. And it's when I went to Michael Barkane afterward, and we were like, man, she's going to be good. And sure enough, she's been here since then. So can't wait to have Amy on. Wednesday, me, Ray, and Bill Colarulo are going to be out at Fairless Hills Rally House to do a show out there. We've been there with the morning show and done many morning shows there, and great place. A lot of our listeners and friends live around there. They often come out. It's time. Get your Philly stuff. Rally House, you know we're going to be walking out with some stuff under our arm. So check that out. Also, that night, it's a busy Wednesday. And do we still have a pair of tickets to give away, Ray? Are we still good, or we got to check on that? Oh, maybe we do. Maybe we don't. We'll have to check the closet. But Wednesday night is our knockout. Sixers play the Clippers. For those who've already won tickets, can't wait to see you on the floor. If you check out our website, there is odds on the people that work here on how they're going to do. Ray asked me this morning, he said, you're still in, right? I said, as of today, yeah.
Come on, don't do this.
I'm just saying.
Don't do this. This would be false advertising. We told the people we were getting Bob Cooney to do the knockout tournament. Honestly, that would be, if I were coming and you decided to back out, I would be disappointed.
Okay, I'm in. All right, I'm in. I'm 100% in then, Ray. You've just talked me into it. So we have knockout. 7:30 is the game on Saturday night. Besides the knockout, Sixers-Clippers, that's a good game. And yes. we put up a poll, as a matter of fact. Did we not, Ray? Are we going to?
We did put up a poll.
Okay. How about if you read what that poll said?
I would love to read what that poll said.
I would love for you to read it.
And I'm going to read what it says because we put up a poll at 975 middays. Do you think that the 76ers somewhat turned a corner yesterday? And the options in which you can respond. Yes, urgency was there. No, need to see more. And right now, 29% of the people are saying, yes, urgency was there.
Okay. Just 29%.
Just 29%.
Uh-huh.
About 7 out of 10 people say, no, Bob. They did not turn a corner.
They didn't say Bob.
Listen, I'm just paraphrasing. Okay. I don't know what they said.
Don't add my name into people's mouths.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No.
So Wednesday.
Mr. Show Host.
Wednesday, we have that. Thursday, of course, season opener, 3 o'clock. Phillies and Braves. Wheeler on the mound against Strider. Going to be a great day. Where are Ray and I going to be for that Phillies opener? Because Ray brought it up to me today. He said, look, we got to figure something out. We have to go somewhere where we can meet our friends, the listeners, everybody, maybe some YouTube people, and watch a little bit of the Phillies game on Thursday. So we're going to try to do something there that we can all maybe share together. Okay, with this John Tortorella situation, Ray, I've said it for weeks, maybe this whole season. Since you and I have gotten together, I've said it more than a couple of times. John Tortorella intrigues me. He does things that make me think. He does things that maybe I'll agree with, maybe I'll disagree with. But the intrigue comes in. I think there's a plan of his that maybe I don't totally understand, or maybe it's going to take a while to play out. Now, I talked about him leaving the podium without talking about Felix Sandstrom when asked, and kind of just pounding the podium and then walking away. It's your backup goalie. You had to play him. You outshot the other team 2-1 in Florida. You lose 4-1. Do you want to talk bad goals, his fault? I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and say I can tell exactly he was out of position on this one. I don't know when he was screened, when he wasn't. I don't know all those things. Now, Neil Deaver from our YouTube site said, Bob, I love the way he worded this. It wasn't Bob does this and Bob does that, or Ray does this and Ray does that. If you truly know our feelings, great. We're just open and honest here and giving our sports feelings. But Neil put it perfectly when he said, I think Bob doesn't want to like Tortorella or doesn't want to like some of the things he does, but he doesn't want to admit it. I'm paraphrasing because, Neil, I can't see your exact up here, what you put up here. I'm not looking to like or dislike. I am looking with an open mind, and that's why I came up with the word intrigue. However, if we're going to look at this team and say, oh, man, the young guys didn't play well at the end, or the young guys didn't do what they should have done in the end, or they did something differently, the coach is no different. And what he's done mostly, or what stands out mostly over the past week, was sitting his captain. The guy that he named captain earlier this year sat him for 2 games. Hard to argue with it. They won 1 game over Toronto, and they lost an overtime game against Carolina. 2 teams that are ahead of them in the standings, have more points than them this year. Can you argue it? No. How did it resonate with the rest of the team is probably the biggest question after how did it resonate with Couturier. Couturier comes back on Saturday, plays Saturday and Sunday. Looked rusty. I saw one time they were buzzing a little bit. He had the puck kind of at the circle, and he goes to throw a pass or something, and it just comes off his stick. He was a -2 last night. He's never going to come out. How does a hockey player in your eyes come out and get over being in a slump? They hit people. They run around and do things. He's not that kind of a player. He goes into corners with one hand on the stick and tries to poke check things away, and he shies away from contact. So that's not going to stand out to fans. He's not like a flashy player. He's just that kind of guy. So that was Tortorella's big move, and then last night he has to play Sandstrom because it's a back-to-back, and he kind of gives it the old, without saying he sucked, gives it the old, he sucked, and walks away. Does it move past intriguing if you're intrigued by the guy the way I am, and maybe you're just not a Tortorella fan, or maybe you're a huge fan, and you say, hey, this is part of what he does. Is this a little much towards an end of the season when you're in a playoff push? Because I wonder. That was my big wonderment this weekend, or after last night, when he left the podium about Sandstrom, where, I don't know, are you better off saying, yeah, he probably wants to have 1 or 2 of them back, and we need him to. Tough spot for him. He's only going to play 4 games down the stretch, whatever. And it's games that we're going to need. And that's a lot of pressure to have on him. But as a coach, that would be in my mind. Is there something else in his mind that says, no, I've patted him on the butt too many times. Now it's time for a kick in the ass. And that's what I'm going to do by saying nothing and walking off the podium. Do you think he's overdoing it a little bit, Ray, or do you just think it's all part of the John Tortorella mystique?
It's part of the experience. I think that this is part of the experience. I don't see him much as one, let me pat him on the back. I don't think, I've patted him on the back too many times. It's why would I pat him on the back when he's giving me something that I can't use right now? Like, I think to him, his blunt honesty, like the way he goes about carrying his business, he sees the way Sandstrom played yesterday, and he's like, well, what? You want me to, dress this up and make you feel like this is better? No, this isn't better. If this team wants to get where it needs to go, he needs to be better. And that's pretty much what he's telling you by walking off the podium. You know the answer to the question. I know the answer to the question. Do you want me to really try and dress this up for you to make us all feel better about where we're at?
Yeah.
He was not good. It hampered our chances of winning. And now we're just 2 points up on the Capitals.
I don't know how many times people have said to me, why do you ask that question? You know what the answer is going to be. And I always say, no, you don't. Well, yeah. 9 times out of 10, you might. 9 times out of 10, yes, they might come with the standard answer, but you don't know unless you ask.
Right.
And then at that one time, maybe instead of pounding a podium and walking away, you get the, what's up with this kid? I've been on him for this, and he keeps doing it. Or you get the, yeah, I feel bad for him, and he's just struggling. I don't know.
Well, no. You have to answer that question. You have to ask that question. I'm not telling you don't ask that question. I'm just saying from his vantage point of, you know what I want to say. Like, to me, asking that question, you got that response. That
Right.
response tells you more than anything else.
Right.
Like, he walked off the podium talking about the goalie.
Well, it
That
doesn't
tells-
tell you more than actual words.
I
It
would
tells
say
you he's upset.
the
He
actions
could have
speak
gone
pretty
deeper
loud
into
on that.
why he's so upset. You know what I mean?
Much like how he calls the timeout and doesn't say a thing to his
Hey,
team.
yeah, that's
He
true.
doesn't say a thing to you. I think you have a pretty clear. He's not walking off the podium to just go, you know what, instead of talking to you guys, I'm going to go praise him in the locker room. No, that's not where this is going. He's upset with what the caliber of play he got out of him. And I think it tells you quite a bit. And when you want to talk about upside, and limiting upside with this team, part of it is the fact that, they've been so hurt defense on, when it comes to being down pretty much 4 defensemen and being down, obviously, now you don't really have a backup goalie that you trust.
Yeah.
So I think that's all of this is playing a part in this. I think it's part of his frustration of where they're at, and it's part of, as much as he can be committed to the process and building the culture and everything that he wants to see going forward, when you get into the actual game and the heat of the competition, you feel like you're hamstrung. And I think that's a frustration for him.
So our friend Neil on YouTube, who I paraphrased, he said, I said that I think Bob wants to like Tortorella, and in parentheses, heck, we all want to like him, but there's a few things that rub him the wrong way. Sure, that's why it's intriguing. It's intriguing because I'll tell you what, Neil, it's not that it rubs me the wrong way, it's that I question it. Like, I'm not like, oh, my God, what the hell is he doing? I'm more like, ooh, why is he doing that? I think that's the best way I can describe it. These last couple of days, Neil, you're so spot on. It's gone more towards, really? This is the time to make these points? Maybe that's the greatness of him. Maybe it is because he has the guts, in lack of a better term, he has the guts to do it at this time when another coach probably wouldn't. So you're in a playoff push. You're 3 points up on the Detroit Red Wings, who are at the bottom of the – anyway, you're third in the Metropolitan. If you stay there, you're cool. If it goes back into you getting into the wild card, you're 3 points above Detroit and all the mix that's there. I don't know. John played it all out with looking ahead. I'm not good at that stuff. I just think the Flyers are going to be a playoff team. I do think they're going to make the playoffs. I think Sam Ersson is going to have to, be there. So we'll see how that all plays out. But getting back to the Sixers, and our poll is, do you think they've turned the corner? I thought yesterday was different. And I'm not saying, they're going to go on a 10-game winning streak. I just thought there was an energy and a want to play the game differently. And I don't know if there was a message given. I don't know if it was because of what Nick Nurse said, like, look, you guys were open on Friday night against the Lakers. You just didn't make shots. Let's keep running what we're running, and you're going to start knocking down shots. And yesterday they did. And it was a good win over the Clippers with Sacramento coming up tonight. And Dave in South Philly wants to talk about it. Dave, you're on 97.5, The Fanatic.
Yeah, I'm so glad, and it was a blessing that Lowry got injured. Cam Payne is the next piece. That's the piece. He should be the starter, no doubt about it. Buddy,
Why are you glad that Kyle Lowry got hurt?
Well, I mean it in a nice way. It's a blessing, okay?
You think they're a better team on the floor with Cam Payne and not with Kyle Lowry?
Of course.
Do you?
He's younger. He's quicker. Come on, you see the way he moves. The starting should be Harris, Oubre, B when he gets back, Maxey, and Payne. That's easy.
Maybe they will. Maybe they will, Dave, because Nick Nurse wasn't set on a starting lineup even when Joel Embiid before he got hurt, right?
I know. I love Nick Nurse and the rest of that coaching staff. Every time I look on the TV and they show the whole staff, they are excellent. They are excellent. Better days are coming, fellas. Better days. Embiid, he's practicing. I know. He can't wait. He can't wait. I'm telling you, you're going to see a whole new team.
All right. From your mouth to God's ears, Dave, the basketball God's ears. I hadn't thought about Cam Payne being the answer at starting point guard. Dave is set on it. Dave is in the Cam Payne, fan club, president, chairman, maybe the only member. I don't know.
He's campaigning for campaign.
I wasn't going to say that because
I knew you were thinking it, though. I said it for you.
I
know you were. You were.
But
okay.
Do you think? Is he the answer? Maybe Kyle Lowry coming off the bench is what's going to happen?
No. I thought I was big on campaign for who campaign is, and I feel like now my admiration for campaign has been dwarfed by what Dave just had to say that time.
Right.
No, I like what campaign brings you. I mean,
Yeah.
the fact that he can really stretch it. I mean, he's hitting threes well beyond the 3-point arc, and what you have in terms of spacing, what he may bring with Embiid, I think will be interesting. I don't think you're able to replace the mind of Lowry out there on the floor, the toughness of Lowry, just because campaign knocks down threes.
There's somebody on our YouTube page that doesn't exactly agree with Dave, and it's our good friend Alyssa. And she laughingly says, "Put the Bloody Mary down, Dave." I hadn't thought about campaign being a starter, and I don't think it's going to happen because when I sat down with Nick Nurse last week, one of the questions I asked him was this whole Kyle Lowry thing. What did you think and where did it grow to? He came out and said it's grown to 30-plus minutes a night.
Do you
That's
think
where it's going to be?
that Nick Nurse has thought of campaign as a starter?
Yeah, I think he thinks of everything, yeah.
You really think he started him being a
I think it's crossed his mind. Would I be better off bringing Kyle off the bench and going 20-plus minutes? Is that something I should take a look at? I really do. And I told this to his face. I think he's a mad scientist.
Oh, he is.
I think Nick Nurse thinks of every little intricacy of a game and matchups and lineups and substitutions and who goes where. I told you, one of the times I was down there right before Embiid got hurt, he was toying with whether to start Kelly Oubre or DeAnthony Melton. And it was at a time that everybody thought DeAnthony Melton was just secured in that starting lineup. And then he comes out with, yeah, but I don't know. I think I'm going to take a look at this. A shame you didn't get a chance to, one, because of the Embiid injury, and also because of the injury to DeAnthony Melton, which I honestly don't know. I don't know. I don't know if you can count on him for the rest of this year. You have to just move forward. If he comes back, great, added bonus. But that back injury, that bad enough it's a back. And then you come out and you try it, and it's like, no, not good enough. Backs are pains in the asses. Somebody loves to say, and one of my friends always, we should have just walked on all fours. We never should have stood up straight. Then everybody's back would be a little bit better. But a back thing is so bad. You can't do anything with a back. You can't. When it's bad, and Ray, you're lucky you haven't had one yet, but when it's bad. Now, I used to get back spasms really badly when I was in my 20s playing in leagues and all that. And it leaves you you're immovable. It's horrible. And his is worse than just spasms that'll go away. He's got something going on there. The fact that he came back and then had to be pulled back out of the lineup, that's tough. And it's a shame because he's that perimeter defender you want. He's that outside shooter that you want and need. So we'll see. The bigger injury, obviously, is Joel Embiid coming back. I'm starting to lean towards I think we're going to see him. And beginning of April is a couple weeks left in the season. That's right around the corner. So we'll see on that front. I'm sure we're going to get word later on this week. We'll check in with Amy Fadul when she comes in and visits us at 12 o'clock. She'll probably have more on the Joel Embiid stuff to let us know her thoughts on it. All that, a whole lot more. We'll talk more about this John Tortorella situation. Where are you? My intrigue is way up. Are you frustrated? Are you okay with what's going on? We'll take your calls, a whole lot more. 610-632-0975. This is Middays. Bob Cooney.
Fanatic Sports Update.
76ers win out west. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Pearl California-grown black ripe olives. Pearl's black ripe olives have nothing added but sea salt and water.
Welcome back. Beautiful Monday morning. After a long and exhausting and simply wonderful sports weekend. Glad you're here with us, talking a lot of things going on. We have some texts that we want to get to. We got Amy Fadul joining us at noon. 11 o'clock hour. It's brought to you by Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. We were talking about John Tortorella and all things about him and what he's doing with this team right now for a playoff push. Agree, disagree, I'm intrigued. I don't have all the answers of what he's doing, but I find it intriguing what's going on with him. And Tom in Palmyra wants to check in with us. Tom, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, Bob. Hey, Ray. How you guys doing?
Tom, great. How about you?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic, man. Yeah, I just wanted to check in about the whole Tortorella situation. Listen, I have absolutely no problem with what he's doing with sitting guys, with trying to get into guys' heads. This is all part, in my opinion, it's all part of preparation for a playoff push. If these kids don't have the mental toughness to be able to deal with Tortorella in a couple of mind games, they're not going to be able to go too far at all into the playoffs.
All right, let me stop you there, Tom, real quick.
Yeah.
But if he's sitting the better players to play some kind of a mind game and it's costing you wins, there ain't no playoffs to get mentally tough for.
That's true, and I understand that. However, I also remember back in the beginning of the season when we had no expectations of making the playoffs whatsoever.
Sure.
So I'm going to give him all the credit in the world right now and give him the benefit of the doubt when it comes to these kind of things. The results have been there this season, and I know it's close, and I'm going to be upset if we don't make it. But I'm very happy with what we've gotten out of him this season and what he's gotten out of the players.
I think you're totally right, Tom, because this wasn't expected. And that's why I call what he's doing intriguing. And he's done a great job because they are where they are when no one expected it. Now comes the time. Push is coming to shove. He's shoving. He's pushing. Is it the right way to go about it, Tom? We thank you so much for calling in. It's one of the more fascinating, for lack of a better term, coaching jobs I've witnessed in this city. Been through a lot of coaches and managers, Ray, and the stuff that he does. That's why when I watch him do these things, it makes me have that look of, all right, I got to understand this. Or, all right, I do understand it. Ooh, I don't understand that at all. But it's what intrigues me, and it's why I reached out to the Flyers, and I was like, guys, I got to have him on this week. And they said, yeah, he just can't do it. So we're going to keep trying. We're going to keep trying to get John Tortorella on the show because I'd love to talk to him in a way that, yeah, dude, he just intrigues me. And I got to try to figure out exactly what's going on through that mind of his. And what stemmed it all, again, was last night, backup goalie. He's asked about Sandstrom at the end of the game, and he just pounds the podium and kind of walks away, and that was it. So is that the game that you want to play with your backup goalie right now? That might. I got to look at the Flyers' schedule. I think they probably have one more at least back-to-back. So Sandstrom's going to have to play again. Understand the frustration with the coach in that your team outshot the other team 2-1, and you come away with a 4-1 loss. That's got to be very, very frustrating, but just different. I mean, the guy intrigues me. I don't know any other way to put it. The guy just intrigues me. All right, one thing that isn't so intriguing, but it's good that it is this way, although there was a little bit more news this weekend. The Phillies going-ons that are happening right now, Ray. You had what's his face? My God, Oren Kirkering, it's announced that he's shut down for a while. He's been battling something, and it's something not good. And everybody's had their sicknesses before. We can't compare ourselves to professional players, nor the care that we get from a doctor that they get every day from a group of doctors. But, that's a shame. He's sick. He's been sick. Everybody hopes it's nothing more. It might be a bad flu. It might be something that's taken him that's really just drained him and hard for him to get back. Taiwan Walker with the shoulder, he's going to go on IL. So you're down a starter. But all in all, I would label it a good spring training. No major injuries. Okay, you have some sicknesses going on. Your fourth starter has a shoulder. Oh, or fifth starter has a shoulder. Fourth starter has a shoulder. Okay. I think you can deal with that, especially early on in the season. Hopefully he gets righted. You have other guys that who they putting in this there to start for him? What's his
Turnbull, Spencer Turnbull.
Yeah, Spencer Turnbull is going to be in there as your starter. Now, Zach Wheeler, it looks like because of the way the schedule breaks out, we'll get 2 starts before Turnbull even gets 1. So you're okay for a while, and hopefully Taijuan Walker can turn that around. So not many concerns about the Phillies coming out. I'm okay going into Thursday. Hopefully Kyle Schwarber, he's had a stomach issue. He was down for 4 games. Didn't see – all I saw was, he missed another game because of a stomach issue. I did not see but he'll be back, such and such. They play their final spring training game today. Not ideal that your leadoff hitter hasn't, when it gets to Thursday, hasn't hit in live action for over a week. But I haven't seen much concern on that. So boring in the case of the Phillies is kind of good. And boring in the case right now when it comes to the Eagles, to me, is kind of good. I don't know. That's kind of just where I'm standing.
It's refreshing you say that. Because when we talked on this program with Andrew a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about Eagles offseason.
I'm a big fan of his, if you didn't read on Twitter.
I did, yeah.
I'm a big fan of him. He ran into a big fan of his, and that was me on Friday.
Man gets a morning show, and all of a sudden, everyone else is big fans of him.
Hey, was it the fact that I asked for an autograph when he walked into Fleming's when I was talking to his parents? Maybe. But he deemed it worthy enough to put out on Twitter that I am a big fan of his.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did he mention being a big fan of yours?
No.
Okay. Well, that's kind of messed up.
That's all right. I don't look. Everybody's a friend.
Yeah, whatever, I guess.
Don't need fans.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Conversation that he and I had on this program a couple weeks ago about the Eagles offseason, about, he was, just a little party. I love the chaos, love the excitement. And I was like, no, I'd rather it be boring. I'd rather it be boring because that means that we're closer to being, in the place to win a championship. And even listening to Kincade and Salciunas this morning, they're talking, well, the Dodgers got better. The Braves, look at the Braves. This team was a game away from going back to the World Series, where they were the year prior. Yes, it was ugly, terrible collapse. The fact that we have a team that I don't have a ton of drama about, and there are people bellyaching over Spencer Turnbull as the 5th starter. I remember when Jeremy Hellickson was the opening day starter, okay? I'm okay right now.
That might have been your best line of the week, even though we're only an hour and a half in.
Yeah, and it probably will be the best line, because let's be, it's like 2 or 3 days a week where I really nail one of these things. This might be the one day you get from me. I felt good on this Monday morning.
All right.
But Turnbull, and I also love Zach Wheeler just wanting to take the ball. Every 5th day, you could tell last year he hated the 6-man rotation. He hated every bit of that. He just wants to pitch a normal rest, and if it's at the expense of a Spencer Turnbull, you know what? There's a reason we paid this guy more than anyone's ever been paid by the Phillies. Zach Wheeler's going to take the ball whenever it is. So I think, for me, going into the season, boring is fine. I don't want the thought of, last year, we had who's going to be at first base after Hoskins?
I don't
need drama.
Yeah.
The fact that we were doing the Rojas and Pache, we're bellyaching over 2 above average. Well, for one of them, Gold Glove level, another one that's a very
above
good
average.
Center fielder.
Yes.
2 good defensive center fielders who are below average hitters. The fact that was our big, oh my, what are they doing this spring? Or, I saw people upset that Junior Marte and Connor Brogdon were in the bullpen. That's where you're upset with today?
Marte had a hell of a spring.
Oh, listen.
I think he went 9 outings without an earned run.
I'm all Marte'd up.
Are you?
I was last year. Oh, yeah.
You picked the most obscure players to become the fan club president.
I had a whole thing. It was Saturday morning. We were at the Authentic Expo. It was Phillies Alumni Weekend. It was me, Tom Alvord, and Ricky Batalico. And Ricky and I got into it over Marte. And Marte got DFA'd the next week. And I was, of course, pro Marte. And Ricky, who, pitched in the bigs, the whole thing, was not.
Yeah, he was an all-star in 96.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah. He was not. And I kind of had the whole, he pitched in the bigs, I'm still Marte'd up. I'm going to go. That's a hill might die on this year. I'm excited to see him this year. I actually am. And it's not let me just pick some random. No, I think he's got good stuff. If he can kind of harness it, I think we're in a good place with him. And plus, he's a very low leverage guy right now.
Good. I'm with you. All right, you and I will be on the Marte bandwagon.
That's right. This is the official program of Junior Marte.
Yeah, I think that's where we have to be. We have Stanley Krupinski is asking us how we did on our NCAA basketball brackets?
That's right.
I'm going to ignore his question.
Yes.
Yeah, because there's no need to answer that.
No, because it's all about the fun of the weekend. Didn't we talk about it's all about the chaos? It's not about how smart you were.
Hey, if I got to teach another life lesson, it's this one, and it's going to go on my tombstone when you're standing there saying, "Oh man, we had fun together." It's going to be written on my tombstone that Bob always said, "Fun was the best thing to have."
It's a bold take by you.
It is, and when you walk by my casket, there's going to be a keg there that's currently sitting in my garage, a kegerator, and it's going to be filled, and there's going to be plenty of red cups, and you guys are to fill it and have a beer with me one final time.
Wow.
How's that sound?
That sounds
Morbid.
morbid. Very sad. I don't want to say that sounds good.
Oh, man. Uncle Frank, speaking of sounding good, Uncle Frank, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, Uncle Frank?
Happy, bright, and shining Monday, everyone.
It's beautiful out there.
It is. It is. Yep. What a fun-filled weekend of sports, huh?
Yeah, it was.
So, like you, Bobby, this is Uncle Frank and I like to hit bars and restaurants. So yesterday, I know, shocking development. So yesterday we get to a place in Westchester, like mid-afternoon, and hardly anyone was at the bar. So, and they had two large screens, so I can control what to watch. Naturally, you know, at the Sixers and the tournament, obviously on the other. Did you see all that? The Cougars Aggies game? My God,
That was good. Overtime, 100-95. Good game. Crazy.
slugfest. And you know, and of course, naturally, 2-5 seeds go down to 12 once again. You know, Bobby, I'm trying to remember, and you will probably know this, like the origin, you know, when fives would go down to 12s would be a thing, you know? You know, how far back does that go? Do you have any idea?
Not exactly, but what did we have? Thanks, Uncle Frank. Appreciate it. Was waiting for you to get to the point. We got to get, what was it this week? Who was 4-0 to begin? The 13 seed?
It was,
or 11?
there was the first day, it was 3-0 for 11 seeds.
11
I
seed
believe
was 3-0 first seeds, yeah.
Clemson was the one on 6 that won.
Uncle Frank, I love you, but you know we're under new management, man. You got a minute and a half to get to your point. I can't have you, dilly-dallying. I love the bars, too. That's a given. Don't tell me your givens. Give me the hard stuff. I need you to. There it is. Friday, 5:30.
I didn't even think of that, so I'm glad you caught that
I'm
one.
here
But you're
for
to
you.
get on that one, 11:42.
All right, when we get back, we got to hit the texts. 610-632-0975. We love to hear from you. Give us a call. Let's talk about everything and anything that we have on the board. We've talked Sixers. A little bit of a turnaround, I think, in the end of this season, the way they played on Sunday. Flyers, the John Tortorella thing, that's number one. That's my headline with the Flyers. But there's plenty of secondary stories, and the biggest one is they're in a playoff push, and they still have a hard schedule coming up. Of course, Phillies opening up on Thursday. I got to be honest, I'm okay. There's not much Eagles to talk about. I'm not going to sit here and rehash the Hassan Reddick thing unless something comes about. Seems like a little bit of a dead time. Owners meetings in Orlando this week. It is owners, right? Owners meetings?
League meetings, owners meetings.
okay.
And
I
however
know
you want to brand it, they're talking.
I know Jeff McClain is down there, so we'll get some word from down there. Probably get a guest tomorrow talking about the Eagles. But for now, I'm okay. Okay, everything is just status quo. That's all right. When we get back, we're going to get to your text at noon. Don't forget, Amy Fadul is going to be joining us from noon to 1 o'clock. So can't wait to have her in. All that and a whole lot more here at 97.5 Midday Show, Bob Cooney.
The best show ever. Opinion and conversation on Philly's hot sports topics. Tyrone Johnson, Ricky Batalic.
a weekend like this pumped me up. We talked about the exhaustion of watching it all. Nah, it kind of pumped me up. There's two things that really get me going. Like my juice is really fun. Like my wife will make fun of me. There's this one year I was on the road covering the Sixers, and I'm about to go somewhere. I'm on a flight, and the last thing she said to me was, "We got bad news. It looks like our daughter Jenna's basketball league's going to have to be canceled. They just don't have enough coaches." And I'm like, "Oh man, that stinks. All right, listen, I'm just getting on the plane. I got to go. I'll call you when I land." So I call when I get to the hotel or whatever, and I said, we're talking what's going on. She goes, "Oh, I got good news." I said, "Oh, what's that?" She goes, "They found another coach for Jenna's league, so the league is on." I said, "Oh, cool. That's great." She goes, "Yeah, it's you." I'm like, what? She goes, "Don't worry. I checked your schedule. It should be fine. Everything should be okay. You're all right." Saturdays was my one getaway day for the week when I was covering the Sixers. She's like, "It's mostly Saturdays, so you should be good." All that. I would come home from those games. Now, I got the last of the girls, including my daughter, who was really good, but I got the last of the girls. Some of them that just, quite frankly, didn't know how to play basketball. They were about 12, I guess 13, something like that. I would come home from practice or a game. My wife would be like, "You should see the adrenaline you get in coaching these kids." And it could be as like, "Oh, my God, I taught Alyssa how to catch a ball because she didn't know how to catch a ball before." Or I taught Janie how to make a layup off the backboard, something like that. Well, this show gets me the same way hanging out with you. You just get that adrenaline rush because it's so much fun talking with the people that are listening, interacting, whether it's YouTube, however it may be. Some people tweet at us. Some maybe have my number and text at me. So it's all good. But something new that we implemented this week was that you can text us at 610-632-0975. And, Ray, we got some interesting texts you told me already today.
Yeah, we got quite a few, so we'll get your reaction to a number of these here. As Nate from the Northeast agreeing that the Sixers game was more than just a W. They came out and balled out. He loves Kelly Oubre, and he also wanted them to go 2-2 on the road trip. So he's looking for the win tonight. Do you think 2-2 was ambitious for where they were on the road trip? And obviously, I mean, you can react to Nate agreeing with you on the fact that it was more than Sixers W.
There was something different about it. There just was something different with the way they played. Times, and you hope it stays when the result is what yesterday was. I just thought there was more of a go-get-itness, for lack of a better term, from them yesterday. Yeah, I just think that's what it was. And what was the second part of his comment?
Well, he was talking about going 2-2 on the road trip. I was wondering if you find that being ambitious.
I think that was the ultimate. Like, that was the best you could wish for.
I think that was as ambitious as
realistically.
It gets. I was hoping they got a win on the West Coast. That was about all I had for them.
Oh, really? Yeah, I guess we were all thinking that, too. 2-2 would have been the ultimate if I'd have said this last week. Getting a win, that was probably the most basic.
Right.
With 1-3, but now you do. You have a chance at 2-2. You have Nick Batum playing tonight and Kyle Lowry playing tonight. So, yeah, could be there.
All right, our guy Dawood checking in from the Northeast. What's up, Dawood? He's asking, what do you think the best case scenario is for the Sixers if you do believe they've somewhat turned that corner to end out this season?
Well, best case scenario would be that they get that number 6 spot so they don't have to play in the play-in tournament. Best case scenario is that Joel Embiid comes back with games to play in order to get back into basketball shape. Best case scenario is that you run out a set starting lineup and have your set playoff rotation as you enter into the playoffs with some answers in your head. Here's Team A, here's Team B, and here's how I intermix them. If you're Nick Nurse, where does your substitution, how deep does it go? Does it go to 8, 9 guys? Is there a specialist that you're bringing off the bench? Is Mo Bamba a guy that maybe you bring in to block shots on a defensive possession or, situational stuff like that? So that's what I think is what you're looking most forward to or hoping to.
Dawood was talking himself into maybe the 5th or the 6th. I think 5th is probably far-fetched.
No, you're not going to catch Orlando at the 5th. I really don't think that.
One more Sixers text for you before we got an Eagles text for you. Father Sean Hey, Bob, definitely agree with you about the Sixers having a new step. They really balled out yesterday. I thought they would lose. I think the news about Embiid coming back has given them that spring in the step. He's right along where you are in terms of thinking about this Sixers team. So the text board seems to be a little bit more uplifted by the game yesterday. If you can believe it, Twitter appears a little bit more negative on where this Sixers team is right now.
Do different moods go to different places of social media?
Yes,
Yeah?
I think so.
You think people are more ballsy on Twitter than they are on, say, text messages?
I don't know about that because we've gotten texts over the first couple days that I would think is, I wouldn't say, they're not nearly as cruel as people can be on Twitter, but I would say maybe not necessarily. Maybe you should think about the audience that's receiving the text before you send it.
That's a point.
I would just say, you taking time out of your day to text 610-632-0975. Maybe think about who's receiving the text on the other line. But I have one for you because we had someone upset that I had used
Eagles?
yeah, this was just a nice little fun text. Someone upset that I used the breaking news sounder for the Quez signing.
Was
So
that
you
the
can't-
text that I sent you?
I mean, that could be. I don't have your number
I was quite
memorized
upset
yet.
with you also.
Yeah. I was. Well, we got a Phillies question for you.
Okay.
Do you have any concerns having Rojas and Schwarber batting back-to-back? Both may be sub-200 hitters.
We've talked about it. Yeah. Do you do you like that? I don't like the fact that if Rojas starts finding his way, that no, I shouldn't say that. Here's the thing with Rojas. Yeah, I made this point last week, and it didn't really get a lot of response to it. But Rojas, if he's going to hit 220, whatever it may be, when he gets on base, he needs to cause a disturbance on the base paths. So him getting on 2 out of 10 times, you're going to remember those 2 times because he stole second. He went from first to third on an ordinary single. He scored from second on a single that he never should have scored on. Those types of things. He has to be remembered when he's on the base paths. Yeah, ideally you don't like back-to-back 200 hitters, no. But if Rojas does get on base and he can be the disturbance that I'm talking about, what does that do to a pitcher? Maybe he throws a bad pitch to Schwarber because he's concentrating so much on Rojas. Boom, next thing you know, 480 feet later, there's 2 runs on the board. So, yeah, there's so many different ways to look at it. And it's something that's probably going to be questioned all year long, whether Schwarber belongs in that number 1 spot and the Rojas situation also. Probably your 2 biggest questions going into the season and probably lasting throughout the season. All right, quick break here. When we get back, Amy Fudul, NBC Sports Philly, is going to join us. All things about Philadelphia, because there's nothing that she does not know about this current sports scene. So look forward to hanging with her for an hour. And you, 610-632-0975. Give us a call, text, whatever you may want. Maybe there's something you want to ask Amy. Middays with Bob Cooney here at 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Sixers, stop the slide. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Silk. Feel plenty good. Shop wherever you find groceries. Silk's delicious plant-based beverages help you bring a daily dose of goodness to help you feel plenty good. They are rich in calcium and a good source of vitamins A and D to support the health of you and your family. Shop wherever you get your groceries. 76ers beat the Clippers.
perspective and your reaction. This is 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. WPEN and WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. This is Philadelphia's sports station for breaking news. Now, more with Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
I just talked a little bit about, in the previous segment, the adrenaline rush I get doing this show every day, right? Because it's so much fun. It's like where I belong, where I want to be. And then when it gets amped up even more because somebody walks into studio to share the next hour with you in Amy Fudlong. I don't know if I can keep myself calm. Amy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bobby. So happy to be here. I mean, obviously, if I'm going to hit the ground running with 97.5, who better to do with a man I've known 15 years plus at this point.
Is that how long you've been here, 15 years?
I started January 5th, 2009.
And I was on Daily News Live that night, Ray. So you came walking in, and I remember Mindy, who used to do our makeup, Mindy. She's like, yeah, we have a new girl coming in today. You know, she's just starting. You got to be nice to her, because Mindy knew I was kind of maybe a wise guy or something like that.
A bit.
And you came in wearing your Kentucky blue.
I mean, you know, it was that time of year. I was still feeling very enthusiastic about my Wildcats, as I do every year. Hope springs eternal, only to be crushed every single year, save 2012. But yes, I was the bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, ready to roll in, and it hasn't crushed me yet.
No?
No.
You're okay still?
No.
How were you
Still
the other
loving it.
night?
Expected. I thought they would either lose second round or they'd go to the Final Four. There was no in-between for me. So I guess they saved me one round.
Wow. Yeah, a lot of South Jersey flavor.
Yeah, a couple of Camden kids,
Yeah.
Imhotep with Justin Edwards. Just, you know, sometimes you're prepared for March, sometimes you're prepared for the NBA.
I remember I was covering a Camden High game. I think the NBA was on, not a lockout, work stoppage, whatever you want to call it. And I went to LaSalle, where Roman Catholic and Camden were playing in a game, and DeJuan Wagner was playing. It was so funny that John Calipari was between jobs and decided to become an assistant coach with the 76ers so he could be right across the river from one DeJuan Wagner. And where did DeJuan Wagner wind up going? Memphis, where John Calipari became the head coach. Kind of funny how that all works,
It's
isn't
funny
it?
how that works. I wonder if DJ Wagner, DeJuan Wagner Jr. went, oh, that's right.
Yeah. And he doesn't seem to be real happy with your alma mater either right now.
Listen, it is tough times down there in bluegrass land, as it should be. You can't produce the way they've lacked production in the tournament. I mean, they didn't win a tournament game. They didn't win the SEC tournament. They didn't win a game in there. They didn't win one NCAA. It's rough.
I feel for you. One of the greatest parties I ever went to for a
March Madness?
For March Madness. I don't know if it was a Thursday or Friday, because you guys do both days, don't you? Or do you do the whole weekend?
We do. We do the whole. Well, we just do Thursday and Friday because, you know, if you need a reason to really get everybody together and have some beverages, it's got to be at noon on a Thursday.
Sure. So I was on my way, ironically, to do Daily News Live. Correct. And Amy and her husband, Sean, said, hey, listen, stop over. You lived in South Philly at the time, right?
Yeah, we're right off.
And they're like, stop over before you go to Daily News Live, you know, just to say hi. So went over and said hi. They had great food out, real good party, rolling at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I turned to Sean at one time. I'm like, so you guys last all day? He goes, oh, I can't promise Amy's going to, but most of us will, yes. So great times there. All right, Amy, so I wanted to get into you with the 76ers.
Let's do it.
You, Jimmy Lyon, and Mark Jackson, you guys do a phenomenal job. It is so much fun to watch. For years, even before I met you, Jimmy Lynam has been one of my favorite people to talk hoops with. And the knowledge that just spews out of he and Mark is phenomenal, and you run it perfectly. I watched that game yesterday, right? And, you know, sometimes you play a good game, sometimes you play a bad game, you don't take much out of it. Something was different to me yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't know if you felt the same way, but I watched it, and I'm like, nah, there's something going on. Like, they made shots, which always makes a team seem better. But was there more to it than you?
There was more energy, I felt. So you watched the Lakers game, and yes, I thought the shots they took weren't terrible. Obviously, sometimes, you know, they're not going to go your way, and I think that was the takeaway from that game. But defensively, they weren't really having the same level of energy. In that Heat game, they brought it. They're flying all over. They're getting the loose balls. They're coming up with steals. They're trying to be disruptive. They didn't have that against the Lakers. And I think that's what really, when the shots aren't going, you need to have something defensively. We all go back to that Knicks game that was atrocious, the 79-point win.
Yeah.
At least they did something well in that game. Shots didn't go in, but defensively you were able to limit the Knicks. They couldn't limit, especially in the fourth quarter. They only scored 18 points, and obviously LeBron and AD combined for 20 in the fourth quarter alone.
Right.
But you look at the defensive presence. You're talking about 10 blocks, it's 10 steals, 7 blocks, and you're looking at like the similar effort with the Heat game. When they bring that kind of energy, the Kelly Oubre's, the campaigns, who I think, here's a guy who had 23 points in 24 minutes of work. That kind of really permeates through everybody else. And they all look around and think, oh, I better step it all up. The Mo Bambas, the Paul Reeds, everybody kind of gets in on it. Tobias Harris even, who started out really hot in that game, 19 points yesterday out of the gate. So I think that was it. There was just a little bit more pep in their step, and I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what was said. You know, Nick Nurse talked a little bit about it afterwards, but I thought defensively, when your shots are not going, that's what you have to do something.
Yeah.
Whether it's getting to the free throw line or playing really, really stout defense, getting those turnovers and making sure you capitalize on the other end with some good shots.
Yeah, no, there were shots there. Like I thought the greatest thing Nick Nurse said was between the Lakers game and the Clippers game was, look, we had open shots. We just didn't make them against the Lakers. And I brought up on Friday, I said, look, this is a tough Lakers team because the Lakers score points. There's only, I'm not a huge stats guy like diving in. There's only twice this year that the Lakers haven't scored over 100. So you're not having like that 90, 88 game. But they held them to, what, 107 or 104? 104, 97, I think it was. That's a good defense. That's not bad. But they just couldn't make shots. So I think what Nick Nurse did, and maybe for the reason for the extra pep in the step, and he said this, was, look, the shots are there. They're going to fall. You had wide open shots. They shot 33 for 96, which is horrible.
Ridiculous.
And then they come out yesterday, have open shots, play with purpose, and I think that purpose starts immediately when someone, and yesterday was Tobias Harris, says, here I go. I'm ready. I'll be the guy today.
Yeah, you have to have someone kind of take the lead. And we've seen it be Tyrese Maxey, and it's nice to see someone else do that. Tyrese Maxey's always going to be that Energizer Bunny. He always brings that level of enthusiasm and energy and high-level play. And that was disappointing about the Lakers game. Obviously, he was coming off a really bad Suns game. He didn't have a terrible Lakers game, but those shots that usually go in for him did not. Those great razzle-dazzle, kind of like alley-oop type of looking things where he throws the ball up and someone finishes it or he finishes it because it goes in. So I thought that was a difference maker. It was nice, and I imagine for him it would be nice to have someone else kind of take that lead, at least out of the gates, because he did everything he could in the fourth quarter. He had 11 of their 18 in the fourth quarter against the Lakers. Someone else has got to start stepping up.
Because, and I said this, and I'm anxious to see if you agree or not. When Embiid went down, and we all know what that was, and everybody's first reaction, only because we've been through it so many times. But what I said on the morning show back then was, you got to watch. Tyrese Maxey can't carry you from that position every night scoring. He just can't. It's not like a 6'10 forward, not like a Kevin Durant where guys are kind of just unguardable. He is what he is, which is really, really good. But if you make a concentrated effort like Miami did, and they're playing zone and they throw their two front guys at him and double team him, make him get rid of the ball, keep him away from the ball, you can sustain him a little bit. That's why a Tobias Harris, a Campaign, a Kelly Oubre are so important for this team right now.
Yeah, Oubre's been a real find, I think. And here's a guy that really bet on himself. You know, he was offered a contract with the Hornets. He turned it down, took the 1 year, much smaller deal here, tried to prove himself. He had a little bit of a low. He came out real strong, but I thought he's picked it back up. I mean, you're looking, last 10, 11 games, he's averaging about 20 points.
Yeah.
That's what you need from that guy. He also brings a lot of energy. He joked, he called himself like the Bam Bam brothers and the Meet Meet boys with Tyrese Maxey because they like to just steamroll through. He's a driver. He's at his best when he's that aggressive play. His only issue is when he becomes a little bit too wild.
Right.
And then the shots are erratic, or if he's settling for a jumper. Jumpers are not his game. He is a driver. That's what you want from him. He is a guy that can get to the rack, and you need that from him. So he's been a real find. Campaign, it's interesting when you look at how this rotation is going to shake out, because once we come to the playoffs, we all know rotations obviously get much more limited. Where's Campaign? If DeAnthony Melton comes back, where's a guy like Campaign going to fit in? Because every time he goes in, he gives you something. He gives you 11 points out of the gates. Last night, obviously, the whole 23 points in 24 minutes, 10 points in a quick spurt. He's a microwave scorer in that regard. His shot's not the prettiest thing I've ever seen.
No.
The fact that it goes in is amazing, but hey, it doesn't matter. But you wonder where his rotation minutes are going to go. If DeAnthony Melton comes back and is 100% healthy, he's a big boost to that team, especially with his 3-and-D mentality. Does Campaign's minutes go away because DeAnthony Melton's back? Melton's missed a ton of time. I'll be interested to see because Cam's earned it.
Yeah, I hate to say this, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, but I've written DeAnthony Melton off because that back scares me so much. That's a shame. We had a caller earlier today had something interesting say, hey, look, throw Campaign in the starting lineup and bring Kyle Lowry off the bench. I hadn't thought of that in all the different rotations that go through our heads as we're, playing analyst here. I hadn't thought of that. Is Kyle Lowry better suited? Maybe going 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or if the game says 30 minutes,
right.
But having that option. I don't know why. In my head, I was like, nah, Lowry has to start, and I think it's because of this. I sat down with Nick Nurse last Sunday, and I asked him directly about Kyle Lowry, and he just mentioned, I didn't think he was going to come in here and play 30 minutes a night, but that's what we need.
Right, and that's
so
the
it's
thing.
like there.
And he calls on him. He's his second kind of coach out there. I think having that confidence level, not that he doesn't have confidence level in other players, but here's a confidence level that no one can match. He's won a championship with Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry knows the system better than anybody, even the guys that have been here the entire year that spent the offseason with him. Kyle Lowry already won with it.
Yeah.
He knows what he wants. So if there's crunch time and you've got him out there, at least you feel a little bit better. If I was a coach, all right, well, I got my guy out there. I mean, that's the thing. So on its face, I get what the caller might have been saying, like Campaign, because he's shown that he can give you these really good bursts of scoring and he can manage the game. Kyle Lowry just gives you just so many more intangibles that I think are underappreciated. His fingerprints are always over
everywhere.
These wins. His box score looks like a little I don't know, golf card score because it's like a 6 and a 7 and a 2. My golf cards are no 2s though, more like 6s and 7s.
I golfed
and 8s.
behind Amy in the last tournament I played.
The Barkan one.
It was the Barkan
Yes,
one.
it was.
Yes.
I probably got a lot of those 7s on
Amy and Sean were paired with, I don't know who you were paired. I play with the same group every year. It's so cool. So the way Michael Barkan runs this tournament, not to get off kilter here, but Michael gets all these foursomes and then he'll sprinkle us in with foursomes. I've had the same 4 guys that I've played with for like 6 or 7 years.
They like playing with you.
Either that or they're stuck with me.
Well, what's best is because sometimes it'll get a little backed up because there's bars on the course, and then you get to catch up with everybody.
It's crazy, yeah.
Well, no wonder they liked playing with Bob. If that's the case. There's bars on
exactly.
the course.
Next thing you know, Pat, you're sitting back there, and it's just like, oh, what?
Yeah.
What's going on?
There's cigar bars. There's regular bars. There's shots bars.
There's people.
There's scantily clad women. There's music all over the place.
All over.
I mean, it is, and I just got that's funny. I just got a text from Michael this weekend.
Last night.
Yeah,
2 nights
so
ago.
I had to confirm that. Ray, I'm going to have a day off here down in the future. It's
well,
gonna
the
be,
best is when you start seeing the drinks get passed up as we're all kind of backed up waiting for our tee shots or a bar, and all of a sudden, you just got I don't know why I needed a cocktail. I did. Jimmy Lynam was out there last time too. He's like, I'll take one of those.
Oh,
sounds like heaven.
I'll tell you what, it's a pretty good
Sounds
day.
pretty awesome.
When we have a golf tournament here for the station, and I got a lot of the people that did the cigar bar and the food and different things, and we tried to incorporate them also. So we're looking to make ours bigger and better. We're looking to copy Michael Barkan. Maybe get a band out there. All right, Aim, if you had to, with all the names we threw out there, Lowry, Harris, Maxey, Embiid, Heald, Batum, DeAnthony Melton, Campaign. What's your starting lineup if you're going in fully healthy into a playoff?
I'm going Lowry, Maxey, Oubre, Harris,
I didn't
Embiid.
even mention Oubre. Oubre, Harris, Embiid?
Yes.
So that has you a bench of Buddy Hield, of Campaign, of Nick Batum. That's the one where I go, ooh. Now, is he as valuable coming off a bench as he is starting?
It's interesting. I think his minutes are going to be limited no matter what. I think you need to manage his minutes. If he starts, that's great. 5 minutes out of the gates, kind of set the tone. Maybe it's matchup based for Batum over Oubre in that scenario. I just like that. For me, I want to get out to a hot start. If Embiid's in there, obviously everything's completely different. He's never played with Buddy Hield or Campaign. That's like the big, or Kyle Lowry,
yeah,
for that matter. But especially for a guy that Buddy Hield's going to love it. So I would like to see some second unit minutes if Buddy Hield's out there with Joel Embiid, just because it's going to open up Hield, I think, in the way that when Hield first got here, he's going to see a lot better looks. He has not seen those looks, which I get. He was going to start off, making 5 threes every single game. That was a little bit unrealistic. But he's been a little bit off. But I think that For me, I want to have a hot start, and I think Kelly Oubre is going to help you get that hot start. Nick Batum is going to be the guy that's going to absolutely get you that dirty rebound that you need, get you that good put back.
He's glue.
He's going to make every play count. He's not going to do the dumb things. I just don't know that I can rely on him for 35 minutes if he's my starter.
Yeah, I 35 minutes, absolutely. You can't do that. And you have enough firepower coming off the bench. The cool thing is, and this was wild, and I think I ran into you down there one of the nights that I went. It was right before Embiid got hurt. Melton and Oubre were shuffling in and out. Melton was mostly starting.
Yes.
And we talked to Nick Nurse before the game, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to take a look at this. And he said, DeAnthony's out tonight because of a back, and it was one of the first nights he was out. He goes, but I was going to take a look at having Kelly in the starting lineup because while he's not as good defensively, I can sacrifice that with Joel Embiid on the floor.
Right.
And then with that second unit, when Embiid is out, DeAnthony Melton's a really good defender.
Very good.
And I could have that. So your starting lineup throwing Oubre in there with Embiid is exactly along the line of what Nick Nurse was
I just think it gives you that extra little pop. And I think when you're in a playoff series and it's, every game really matters, you got to take advantage of every aspect. And obviously, matchup-wise, it'll be interesting to see because we have no idea who they're going to play. Right now, it looks like they're in the 7-8, which would be the Heat. I don't know if the Heat are going to stay there. I don't know if the Pacers are going to hold on. Their schedule's really tough coming up. So I'll be interested to see. It could help the Sixers out quite a bit. Of course, the Heat and the Pacers have a lot more home games left than the Sixers. Sixers don't have that many home games left.
Let's say they're fully healthy. Let's say they go into the playoff, and we're all at a spot of, okay, this is the normal team.
With Embiid?
They're there with Embiid.
How many games before the playoffs start?
Let's just say, he played almost a handful.
Okay.
Okay. So we're feeling okay going into it. What do you still not, and you can't say injury, what do you still, X's and O's wise, maybe not feel all that great about still going into a playoff series?
Well, I will say I feel really good about the in-game adjustments more than I have any other year.
He's really good.
I think Nick Nurse can coach. I worry a little bit about the execution of some of that because they haven't been in those situations and come out on the right side of it. So there is a little bit of worry about that. There's not a lot of practice. You can't practice those in-game situations.
No.
You can only hope that you can set them up for as much success as possible with a great play, and they're going to execute it. So there is a little bit of a worry. Worry is probably too strong. There's a little bit of like hesitation. Like, okay, it's crunch time. Who's going to get the ball? It's Joel Embiid. What's our secondary play? What's our third play? We can't have any hesitation on that. I want those to be so ingrained, and that's where a guy like Kyle Lowry would really help because you need to be secondhand knowledge right there. Like, it's got to be right like the back of your hand.
Yeah.
You can't have any hesitation. Everybody knows the ball's going to go to Joel Embiid. That's done. When Jimmy Butler is here, perfect closer situation. Tyrese Maxey can be that guy, I think, but you can't have any kind of like, oh, where does it go now? So I worry a little tiny bit about that. That would be my only real concern. And then obviously just the longevity of the team. Not necessarily health, but they haven't played together as that healthy unit. And that would be a little bit, something to look at because you're not going to get a lot of practice in. You're not going to have a lot of time to get everybody on the same page. Just playing together for long stretches of the games. There is no lull. There is no drop-off.
You've heard it a million times. Nick Nurse brought it up to me when I sat down with him one-on-one last week. Yeah, but that team that I had in Toronto that won a championship, they only played 56 minutes together going into the playoffs.
They had Kawhi.
He holds that. Yeah, they did. Well, they might have a Joel Embiid walking through the door.
Very
so
true.
that's what Ramona Shelburne was with us on Friday. And she said there's a famous Rick Pitino line of he said something at one point. Look, there ain't no Larry Bird coming walking through that door anytime soon. And she said, yeah, but there is a Joel Embiid.
Exactly.
And the people in Philadelphia need to realize that the rest of the NBA is like, oh, man. Marcus Morris, this was he and I sat down at the gala, the Sixers gala.
Yes.
And we were talking for a while, and we hit it off pretty good, and we were just talking about things. And he's like, one of the things I got to tell you is it is so scary playing against Joel Embiid. He goes, I was talking to him about that because I don't think he realized it. And then he said, then I get here, and it is so easy to be on the floor with Joel Embiid and play.
He does so many things that people just don't realize until you're out there with him, I think, as NBA players, as far as helping space out. The lack of players wanting to go inside against him. You'll see teams drive in and then immediately kick out. They'll get within like 10 feet of Joel Embiid. I'm not going in there. They'll run baseline. They'll look over their shoulder and see that he's there. They'll pass it right back out. It's just such a dynamic changer for how teams try to attack the Sixers to have him in there. And the greatest thing was when he was available to the media last month, he said like he wasn't even playing at his 100%. Here's a guy that was leading the
He
league.
said for what? 2 months he hadn't
2
been
months.
playing?
He had just dropped 70 points. He's leading the league in scoring at over 35 a game. And he's like, yeah, I thought I could still hit another level. That's like the rest of the league was terrified. They know what he's like to go against. Defensively and offensively, he's an unstoppable force. And all the naysayers, they talk about him with his free throws. He makes them. Don't foul him then.
Yeah.
He makes them.
You know what's funny? Write names down. There's a real good possibility that Joel Embiid is surrounded in a starting lineup by Kyle Lowry, never played with before, Buddy Hield, never played with before, Kelly Oubre. I don't know what their overlap was. Oubre had the rib thing, and
Minimum.
Embiid was healthy.
You're looking at like maybe
at 10 games.
I was going to say a dozen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
So maybe that's a good thing. I mean, teams don't know what to
Nick
expect.
Nurse, only 56 minutes.
That's all he needed. That's all he got. That's all he needed. The great Amy Fadul is here with us on Midday Shows with Bob Cooney. So glad to have her here. When we get back, we're going to dip into everything. Amy's not just a Sixers and Kentucky girl. No chance. She knows everything about everything. So we'll get into all that. And if you want to check in with me and Amy, you're more than welcome. 610-632-0975. Middays with Bob Cooney here at 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
76ers win out west. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by FarmSafe 811. FarmSafe 811 reminds you to never assume location.
Philadelphia's new morning sports show. Weekday mornings, 6 to 10, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. Coming up at 2, the best show ever with Tyrone Johnson, Ricky Batalico, and Jen Scordo. Right now, it's Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Hey, the 12 o'clock hour, it's brought to you by Service First Heating and Air Conditioning. Get 0% financing for 72 months and a $500 rebate when you purchase a complete heating and cooling system from Service First. Learn more at servicefirsthvac.com. So I was reading on here, Aim, the reaction from our YouTube people. You're not allowed to leave.
Perfect.
Yeah, they said that's it. They're like, Cooney, about time you found somebody that is way better than you, obviously. But, yeah, keep Amy there. Don't let her leave. Make sure she's tended to every day. All right.
Gladly. Come on through.
Okay.
Come on through.
So we talked a bunch of Sixers. Wait, what else, Ray? Did we have something else going on here? I feel like I'm forgetting something.
I just asked you to do the 12 o'clock
And I
sponsor,
just
man.
did.
You can roll through whatever you want right
cool.
now.
Whatever
All right.
is fun. You want to talk about the last day of the season?
The handcuffs are off. See, this is what I love about her. So Amy comes in here and she's like, this is before we went on air, and she's like, oh, man, you guys got to hear this. I got something. I'm thinking, okay, this is like
It's nothing new.
No. I was thinking it was something like our lives as journalists, that I'm hearing such and such, and then we were going to have to debate whether we could put it on the air. It's not that at all. It's something factual. But Amy, I said, do you want to talk about it? And Amy's like, oh, I don't know. Then we come back from our first break, and
It's
she
just
goes,
so
hey, let's talk
interesting.
about this.
It's just so interesting.
Go ahead, you break it.
So it's new. This is not breaking news. This is not like my big.
It's factual.
It's factual
something you
news.
can look up
It's
and
just
say.
something like, that's interesting if it comes to fruition.
Yeah.
So the last game of the Flyers season. Do you want to tell everybody when that is there, Bobby Cooney?
April.
It's this April 16th. It's
Okay.
Tuesday. Flyers Capitals at home. Wells Fargo Center, 7 o'clock.
Yeah, that's where they play. The Flyers play at the Wells
They
Fargo
sure do.
Center. Yeah,
It's
you
fun
have
fact.
a desk there.
I sure do.
You worked there.
Back. If anybody's down there, section 109 in the concourse, there's a little hidden door.
Come on in.
Well, you can't come through, but knock
Yeah,
on it. Maybe
knock on
someone
it.
say hi.
Yeah.
So, also, the NBA has this predetermined timeline of when the play-in tournament games will be because of when the season ends, which is that previous weekend, the
Yeah.
14th or the 13th, depending on what your team is doing. And then Tuesday is the 7-8 game for the teams that are in the play-in tournament.
Interesting.
The 7 seed would host the play-in tournament game between the 7 and the 8. The Sixers right now are in the 7th spot.
Wow.
So it means they would host the 8 seed on Tuesday, April 16th, the same day as the Flyers playing their regular season finale.
This is interesting, Ray. It can't happen like that.
So it's not, obviously, it's still up in the air. There's 11 games to go in the Sixers season. They could move up to 6. Hopefully they don't move any further down. They could move down to 8 because they're basically in a veritable tie with the Heat right now.
They're either 6, 7, or 8.
The Heat are in the have the tournament, or the tiebreaker, pardon me, because they're 2-1. They have one more game April 4th against them. But if they're in that 7th spot and they host, it's something to think about. Now the Flyers, the NHL season doesn't end until the 17th, so they could conceivably, I guess, move that game. They can make it earlier in the day and have a day night, which we've seen quite a bit.
Ooh, but in
Usually not
the
on a
middle of the
Tuesday.
week?
That's not usually real popular on a Tuesday, but obviously we've seen it before. It'll be something to watch with 11 games to go for the Sixers because there is a lot of fluctuation between the 6, 7, 8. The Pacers have a very tough schedule. We were just talking about that, so it'll be interesting to see if they're able to hold on to 6 and the Sixers can't move up. And then we don't have to talk about it anymore.
Somebody's going to have to move. And let's
Someone's
see.
gonna
Wait.
have
Who's not at who's at the top of the pecking order when it comes to Flyers and
I
Sixers?
believe it's the Flyers. But
Yeah,
I'm not
me
entirely sure.
too. Huh. This will
Very
be interesting.
It'll be very interesting to watch.
Yeah.
The Flyers, obviously, theirs is a regular season game. So if
Well, it
one
could
were to-
have huge implications,
Exactly.
however.
Yeah, Mike and I were talking before we came on. We remember the 2010 Flyers-Rangers game and how big that was, and it went to overtime. Brian Boucher made that
Brian
save.
Boucher, yep.
Incredible
And
game.
they went on to the Stanley Cup Finals that
They
year,
went the whole
Ray.
way.
Yeah.
They got that momentum. It's the whole
The
thing.
the Phillies, however, are not home that day. It was my
Phillies-
first question
Oh, no.
to Amy.
I was wrong. The Phillies are home that day.
No, they're not.
The Rockies at the Phillies at 6:40.
Oh, my God.
And that, I believe, is one of the buy one, get one.
Oh,
dog
Yes,
nights.
that's right.
BOGO hot dog.
BOGO hot dogs.
Oh, chaos ensues.
Cannot.
All in
it
South
reminds
Philly.
me of when it was just this past fall. Flyers had their home opener, Mexico-Germany friendly.
Oh, God, yeah.
And then it was the NLCS. Every single parking space in the entire South Philly complex was gone.
Somewhere
gone.
out there right now, Andrew Salciunas is shaking his fist, upset because he missed the first 5 innings of that game that night because he was stuck in traffic.
I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember
he's still
talking
mad.
to him when he was, he
He's
was.
still mad.
We all got down there exceptionally early that day. A lot of people, I think, took the train in, honestly, to think about that.
The worst traffic jam, this is before your time, Aim, here, was I went to a U2 concert one time. It was a Friday night, and it was at the old JFK, which held like 120,000 people. That Friday night, I mean, it took us 45 minutes to an hour to go down like Darien Street just to get
Just
to
to
the
cut
parking
over.
lot. That was horrible. And that was just one event. You could have 3 events. Well, you can't have 3 events on that night. You're going to have 2. You can't have 3. There's no other place.
Ricky-
Ray, I thought had a good idea to put the
Ray-
Sixers game at the Palestra.
At the
Yeah,
Palestra?
Palestra, or, we do stadium series outside for hockey.
Put it
Let's
at
get
the link,
crazy.
freeze
Yeah.
the link over?
Yeah, let's freeze the link. Let's put a dome over it because it's going to be
I can
April.
go to the
It'll probably be
outdoor
hot.
courts at 5th and Shunk
Yeah,
and see
let's-
what's up.
let's- go
FDR
nuts
Park's
with it.
right there. They've got some facilities.
Yeah.
We'll just put something over there.
Yeah, why not?
Ricky wants to let you know that the worst traffic he's ever seen is Taylor Swift concert.
Not this past year's Taylor Swift. The Taylor Swift from 10 years ago. He's 100% right. It took us an hour and a half to move outside of our parking lot onto Broad Street. It was immobile. We were like all texting back and forth. That is actually the worst it's ever been.
I was driving from here. I don't know why. I did a Sunday show here. Oh, it's probably Eagles pregame. And I was driving home to Jersey on a Sunday, and Taylor Swift was performing that night. I don't know how many cars I passed with women around Amy's age, with daughters in their teens, like dressed and singing to the lights. I couldn't take my eyes off of them, saying, what in the hell's going on here?
Listen, it
Wild.
was quite the event. That was Game 7 of the Sixers, I believe, too. So I was at work.
Do you define your calendar by sporting events?
Yes. Are you kidding me? The whole season's done by sporting events.
Because I do. I do the holidays until the Masters and the start of baseball,
Right.
the Masters, NCAA tournament. Then it becomes to me baseball and the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And then it becomes to me after that when the Eagles start in September, then that begins like the winter sports
Right.
because the Sixers and Flyers aren't far behind. And then it's just a rotating calendar of that's when it is.
That's how it works. That's literally every single time.
I thought I got, like, people looked at me strange for doing it, but you do it too, so it's got to be normal.
Well, yes.
All
That's
right,
what you need to tell
normalcy is what's followed the Phillies so far in training camp. There hasn't been a whole lot of yuckiness coming out of
It's
there,
been
Aim.
great. It's
right?
been nice. It has been nice.
You
The
didn't go
only-
down at all this
No
training camp,
no,
did you?
I'm pretty much. Obviously, I do our Eagle stuff on my non-Sixers days, and then some other things, or Sportsnet Central shows. But no Phillies yet for me. Do have one coming up next week. But it's interesting. The only blurb that you even talked about was like, oh, Bryce Harper didn't play for 5 days. Like
Yeah,
that was
the
it
back
was
a little
just-
bit.
Now it's back, so it's like okay. Sorry,
Yeah, now you have Corkering has been down for a while with an
he had
illness.
He had the flu.
Yeah, and it's been a while. They were
like
talking
March
about it
1st.
on the morning show. I've had that. I had, during a Sixers season, I had to come home from Denver. I had pneumonia. I was in bed for 8 or 9 straight days. I didn't move. And then when I was able to start getting up, it was still another 3 days before I was able to even go to a Sixers practice, let alone I wasn't traveling. Like, something like that can take a toll on you. So Kirkering, is, I don't want to say concern, but it's worth noting.
Well, it's interesting. You and he have very similar physical capabilities.
I used to throw up 98-ish.
So
Yeah.
I mean, it's
And that
one
fall off the table slider.
finely tuned athlete.
Yeah.
And you. But no, seriously, it can take it out of you. Everybody knows when you've been sick, it's hard to come back. Your energy's zapped. These guys are trying to ramp up for the season. That is a lot more working out, a lot more cardio and everything
Yeah.
like that. It's just not going to be there. He's probably just really, really weak. So I think they just were like, all right, let's not push it. Start on the IL. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, and
And the bullpen.
I
seems
like
it's
the
okay.
bullpen.
I know. I'm hesitant. I saw the poll that came out and said they're the best. I was like, okay, slow your roll there.
There was a poll that said they're the best bullpen
Yes,
in the
did you
National
not
League
see
or
this?
in all of baseball.
All of baseball. You didn't see this?
I didn't.
I
Wait, did
believe
you
it was
see this?
MLB.com. that did
Yes.
it? Yes. And
I
Wow.
can't believe you didn't. I saw it and I was like, I don't. If there's a dislike button, I just wanted it to go away because I don't want it to come back to haunt us.
So
we can get Bob to walk this one back because I think it was based on F-WAR. So I think
Oh, okay.
once
All right.
once we get the analytics for this one, I think we'll get people to push back on it.
Well, I did read this weekend from June to September, the Phillies' numbers from the bullpen were third best in all of baseball.
good.
They had I think their pitching rate was highest among anybody. I think their relievers averaged like, I want to say it was 98.5 or something like that,
Yeah.
something crazy. If you're an outsider looking in, you say, wow, they have 3 or 4 guys with good enough stuff that could
Yeah.
be closers,
I
but
think
they
that's
haven't
it.
designed a closer.
I think that's it. I mean, you guys were talking about Junior Marte. I think he could be.
That's our boy. We've adopted Junior
I
on
love
this
it.
show.
I know what I'm
Yes.
getting Ray for his birthday, and it's obviously a Junior Marte jersey.
Just
That's
a couple weeks from now, so
perfect.
better
Well,
get on that one.
I'll call China and see if I can get it rushed because the jerseys are a thing right now.
Yeah.
So we'll see after where it comes from. But it's interesting. I think they do have some good arms in there. All you want is a reliable guy, right?
Sure.
I don't need some guy that's going to go out there and just go crazy all the time. I need some reliable innings eaters.
Yeah.
That's what when the Phillies were rolling, that's who they had. I need those guys. I need someone out to come out there and just much eat me some innings.
So we put a good mojo on this season on Friday, Ray and I did,
Mm-hmm.
because we had Brad Lidge on. And as you recall, 48 for 48 in 2008.
Also one of the greatest humans.
Such a good dude. And it was funny. It's funny you say that, Aim, because he was on this station, and I guess it was on our show, or I heard him on another show, whatever. And I did. I wrote it in my notebook. I was like, Brad Lidge, he just seems like a great
Good dude.
And he's dipping into archaeology.
Of course he is.
He said that to us last time, and yeah, he's I think that might become a profession of his, archaeology, which is cool. You have a sommelier in Blanton,
yes.
so like these guys
Well,
are
Blanton
very,
has
very
roots
interesting.
in the liquor business because his family, though it's not his direct I think it's his great grandfather, his great uncle, Blanton's Bourbon, which is just.
Oh, is that right?
Yes. If you've never,
She's from Kentucky. She
well,
knows her bourbon,
if you've
people.
never had it, good luck finding it. But it is premium.
Did he ever give you he gave you a bottle, or?
I knew it when I came here because he
Oh.
went to University of Kentucky and I went to University of Kentucky. So I started here in 2010, and obviously, he was still here, and so I go up and meet him and I say, hey, is there any chance you're related to the Blantons? And Blantons hadn't blown up at the time. Now it's like this super premium. Everybody knows it. It's hard to get.
Ah.
And so I said, any chance you're related to the Blantons? Because I know, obviously you're from Kentucky. And he was like, yeah. And I can't remember. It was like some great uncle. It was definitely along the lines of families too far removed. I'm like, have you ever had it? And he goes, of course. I'm like, it is very, very good. It has these very unique like stoppers on the top that people collect. It's fun. It's not it's not Pappy Van Winkle kind of level, but it's up there. We're talking bourbon here. A Woodford Reserve.
If she's going to start talking horse racing too soon, I know. And then I'm really going to be lost because I'm not a bourbon guy. I'm not a whiskey guy. We've been together at social events.
You're
I'm
a
just a
Fireball
beer.
guy, I think,
I'm
though.
a beer and wine guy. I don't do shots. Like I'm kind of boring when it comes. I always did picture myself. I said this before. Like getting older and sitting at the fireplace and
Right, like a
reading and
little,
having. Yeah, no, I
whiskey
can't.
neat?
No,
No? All right.
like the smell of it. I don't even like. I don't even know if we have. I'm sure we have it in the house, but no.
It's like one of
Nah.
those things you have for guests.
Yeah, like my friends, I have all the basketball guys that I played high school ball with and coaches and stuff all come over for a Christmas thing. And those guys can throw it down. Trust me. Yeah, they're pretty good at it. Well, when you have guys like 6'9" and 6'10" and all that
They can
stuff,
carry
they can,
it, yes.
yeah, they're a little bit better than I am. All right, we get back here with Amy Fudlong, talking more about the Philadelphia sports scene. Maybe there's some things that Amy wants to bring up. We'll see. If you want to talk about something, 610-632-0975. Midday shows, Bob Cooney here at 97.5, The Fanatic.
Kincade and Salciunas. The big stories that matter in Philadelphia sports.
Can you do that in Philadelphia? Can you do this long, slower approach, even though it's worked for the Chiefs?
5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Welcome back. Middays with Bob Cooney. We got the great Amy Fudlong in with us today, which is absolutely awesome. Amy, you're going to hear more and more of her on 97.5 The Fanatic. I believe you have a date with another show?
I do. I'm cheating on you. I'm so sorry. You were so nice to have me on, but the folks at the best show ever demanded that I come on tomorrow.
You need to be shared.
So
we can't, put you in just, one place. You have to, let everyone at every hour.
Here we go. Here we go. Hopefully on with Kincade Salciunas coming up soon.
I had to tell Amy behind the scenes when one of our bosses came to us and said, hey, do you know this Amy Fudlong by any chance in town? And I just looked at him because he's new. He doesn't, know the landscape. And I was like, yeah, I've been working sports here for like 30-plus years. I kind of know everybody that's come and gone through. And he's like, oh, that's cool that you know her. We're thinking of having her on a show. I said, whoa. I said, the first show you have to have her on is the midday show.
You and I go way back.
Because, I want Amy to feel not that you're not going to feel comfortable with Tyrone and Ricky and anybody else. But, I was being a little selfish.
Yeah, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, so I threw the line out there, and I reeled you into this show first.
Appreciate it.
I was in that meeting. He was serious about it. He wanted to make sure. He wanted to make sure.
He was pretty adamant.
He was pretty adamant.
I don't ask for things that much, as you know, Ray. I'm more of a team guy. But when I think something needs to be done, it's got to be done. So Aim, I had this subject last week before the tournament started, the Monday after Selection Sunday. And I felt bad. And you have to take your Kentucky Blue out of this.
Easy.
I didn't feel it.
Yeah.
Were you there?
You're not alone in that. There's a lot of people that are just like, like it's exciting, you watch, and you're like, all right. That's why I think it's going to be the chalkiest tournament. And you're looking at it, there's only one double-digit seed in the Sweet 16, which is almost unheard of in the last 10 years. But it's kind of like, I don't know. Maybe there wasn't an exciting team this year. There wasn't a really great story. There wasn't any players that you looked at and thought, wow, that guy's really razzle-dazzle. Maybe there was one or two, but it wasn't enough to pull you through. You're definitely not alone in that. I feel like as a whole, I'm sure the ratings are still good because it's something to do and everybody watches
the bars are still packed and people are still taking
March
off
Madness.
work.
But I feel like the energy's not there, and I don't know if it's maybe because the top teams are kind of, I don't know, mundane.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with a Purdue or a UConn or a Houston, but they're not like real jazzy teams.
No, and
it's real jazzy about them.
It's not like you can. Well, you might because you follow college hoops probably more than anybody here. I mean, look, I'll watch any and every game,
right?
But I can't name the starting five of Duke, North Carolina, Kansas the way I could in the past.
Well, it's obviously the transfer portal has completely blown that out the water. The thing is, it's a shame. I was at the breakfast. Coaches versus Cancer do a great breakfast the Monday after Selection Sunday. So it's 8 a.m. All 6 coaches are up there. It's wonderful. These poor guys are literally the portal opens as soon as your season ends. So whatever that Sunday is, the portal's open at like, say, midnight or what.
Yeah.
They're having to re-recruit the guys they already have, recruit the guys that they already signed.
Yeah, exactly.
And make sure they're still coming, and then make sure their team is – like, I can't imagine wanting to delve into that. Like, you just lost.
No.
Think about, like, Temple. Adam Fisher rolled into that breakfast. He got in at 2 a.m. He rolled into that breakfast at 7:55. And as soon as it ended, he's having to go back out there and try to get the kids that he already has.
Sure.
Not to mention the kids So I think the transfer portal has really created this kind of, I don't know, lack of knowledge about these guys, lack of kind of commitment. Goes both ways, though.
Yep.
Because there's no commitment or loyalty from the players if they're just going to be like, oh, well, look at the kid from Penn. A
Dingle.
gem, a fine.
Yeah.
Great. Had a great career. You want him to do well. But then there's other kids that come through and they're thinking, oh, I got here because I wasn't highly recruited, and now I burst onto the scene because I had a really good freshman year. Now I'm gone because someone's going to pay me $50,000 or whatever.
Yeah, I feel bad for the coaches. We had John Giannini on here on
great
like
guy.
last
I listened
Tuesday.
To that.
And he made some great points, and he loved coaching, and he was one of the few people you'll find in this country that was able to coach Division I basketball for 20-plus years at only 2 different schools.
Right.
Like, that's amazing. And he said, yeah, he fell short of saying, I don't know if I could do that again because of the way it is. But it's really hard on these coaches, and you and I both know a lot of coaches around here. And talking to them about their profession in a friendly way, not, right. I'm the reporter, you're the you do sense a little bit of, yeah, this isn't fun.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
And I don't want to deny the kids. I think there's some really good benefits. I knew it was a slippery slope. I think the NCAA really messed up when they didn't control the NIL conversation. That's the thing. It's not an NCAA thing.
Right.
It's a federal thing. Like that. People don't know. That was 1995. That was the 95 UCLA team. It was Ed O'Bannon. Those are the guys that really got this ball rolling. It's crazy to think how long it took to finally figure this out. But because the NCAA kind of punted it, they don't have control over this.
Nope.
So their answer was this transfer portal, which I think had its benefits initially. I think there should be something. Coaches should be able to leave, but with certain caveats. Players should be able to leave with certain caveats. It can't be this wild, wild west right now.
It's almost like there has to be some kind of a contract.
Right.
Like, if I'm contractually obligated, I have to say, but stay, but so do you.
Right.
And then I talk to coaches around town. It's like, how about this guy? Yeah, I did have that guy, but the other school offered him $30,000. We can only offer 15. I'm like, oh my God, where the hell has college basketball gone?
Yeah, I mean, college football is even crazier.
Yeah, it's such a shame. And you know what else is a shame? That we have to end this with you right now.
I know.
But
sorry.
You have to go to your other job too.
Eventually, Sixers play tonight.
Yes, they
9:30
do.
pregame show, NBC Sports Philadelphia.
Great.
Shameless plug.
Is it going to be you, Jimmy, and Mark? Or
Know it.
All right, love to hear it. Also, stay tuned after the game because I don't have to get up early anymore.
That's right.
So I sit up and I watch your post game too. You guys need to do that. The great Amy Fadul. Great to have you here. It was such a good, fun
Honestly,
time. That felt like 10 minutes.
It did. Easiest time I've ever had on
Good.
any show. I appreciate that.
That's
Bobby.
what we like to hear.
That's all because of you. And thank
all
you,
right.
Ray.
Amy Fadul.
No
Guys,
problem.
we'll be back in a little bit. We want to hit more on Phillies, Flyers, Eagles, Sixers, whatever you want to talk about. I have something that's kind of a little bit been bothering me that I want to go back to, see how you feel on that. All that and more midday shows here. Bob Cooney, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
76ers win out west. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know the best rate for you is a rate based on you.
mom was the head basketball coach at my high school when I was playing, and she won a state championship my freshman year, and then went on to be coach at Westchester, and they just recently named the court after her, Deidre Kane. So, yeah, funny.
Yeah, awesome. But again, unsurprising on, well, both counts. The fact that the court's being named after, and also the fact that somehow, some way, within an hour of talking with someone, you found a connection that you didn't know you had.
Well, yeah, we found that out probably about 15 years ago. Yeah,
Oh.
that
I'm
Sean
sorry,
was
I
her
didn't
husband,
realize.
and he's like, "Oh, you're from South Jersey." I said,
Oh,
"Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Well,
whereabouts?" Camden Cab. Oh my God,
unsurprising
my
of a
mom was a
connection.
basketball coach there, and boom, there it was. All right, 1 o'clock hour. It's brought to you by Ferguson HVAC Lyon Conklin. Attention HVAC contractors for equipment, parts, and supplies for every heating and cooling job. Visit one of Ferguson's counter locations in Bensalem, King of Prussia, Pennsauken, or Westchester. A new addition to this show, all shows that was added last Wednesday, and that's you can text us at 610-632-0975. Mike from Delran, I'm sorry I couldn't get to you while Amy was here. If you want to call back, we're here. But if you want to text us, you can do that at that number. Ray, we've been busy on the text board today. We've hit it up a little bit. Is there anything popping that you want to kind of come out with now that we can talk about?
Someone's checking in about the 76ers.
I've heard of them.
We talked about the potential for the 2-2 road trip, and I thought that was a little ambitious of a thought going into it. Someone checking in here with a win tonight would be great, but coming off a huge win, he feels a letdown tonight, and potentially Wednesday as well. Doesn't necessarily feel great still about the 76ers, even following the win yesterday afternoon.
Understand that totally and appreciate the text. However, I will go this way against it maybe. Totally understand. A letdown, which should be the first thing in your mind after a really good win at the Clippers. Here's why I don't think it's going to happen. Kyle Lowry didn't play yesterday. Nick Batum didn't play yesterday. Tobias Harris kind of found himself yesterday. You know, he was struggling a little bit with that ankle, I would assume, after spraining it. The last 2 games, he's been pretty good. He's been scoring a little bit. I think he's kind of found a little bit of a groove. I don't anticipate a letdown with the Sixers tonight, Ray. Whether it leads to a win or not, I don't know. And maybe they do. Maybe they have 1 foot out the door, knowing that they're coming back from a West Coast trip. And it's hard, man. So they'll travel all night long. But the worst part about it is they have to go right back at it against those Clippers on Wednesday night. That's tough. I've seen it, dealt with it. Sometimes that first game, there's adrenaline, and boom, you're back at it, and then comes the lull. But at some point, after that tough road trip, they are going to kind of hit a little bit of a lull. I'm looking up the Sixers line right now tonight against the Sacramento Kings. It might give us a little. The Sixers are 9-point underdogs tonight. So if they lose or whatever, I don't think that's so much of a letdown. It just might
be the reality of this team right now.
It could be. We'll see. I'm glad Mike from Delran is back. Mike, what's going on? You're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Yo, what's up, guys? What's up, Bob?
How you doing, buddy? Everything good?
Oh, everything's all good, man.
Do any comedy this weekend?
I did, man. Saturday we went to a comedy show where I wasn't supposed to do anything. My friends were like, "Yeah, this time you just get back and watch." I was there 10 minutes before the guy running it asked me to get up, so I went up and did my thing. You know,
You're in great demand, Michael.
I have a lot of things coming up, Bob. I'm actually
Make sure you text them to me. If I can get out to it, you know I will.
Yeah, it's not open mics anymore. I'm getting invited to shows, so it's fun, man.
Love
Cool.
it. Love it.
Bob, you know, I was watching this game, right? The Clippers game. And I haven't. I mean, it's not the first game I've watched, obviously, the season, but it's the first one I could actually sit and pay some attention to without kids, you know, drive me nuts. But
Why? What'd you do? Tie them up or something? Where were the kids?
I don't know. I forget where they were, to be honest with
Were
you.
you in the garage?
No, I was on the couch. They weren't around. The wife had them out, so
Okay.
I didn't pay attention. But there's just things that I watch with this team ran by Nick Nurse that, like, you know, you would have never seen with Doc. And it's just like there's a play that they run, and it was really successful in that game where it was somebody, you know, whoever it was, they get the ball at the foul line, and you got a cutter and a guy out at the three, both on the right side. And one of them was open at every time. And I think that's how Payne was hitting them, you know, them threes early. It's just the play, and they ran it a lot. They couldn't really stop it. It's just where players move, where players are at certain times, and how the ball moves. It's just night and day compared to when Doc was around.
You know what I loved about it yesterday, Mike?
Yeah.
We all know who a really bad defender is, right? In James Harden.
Oh,
How
yeah.
many times did they just completely go after him?
Right.
Loved it.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's just such a breath of fresh air to watch the details of the game these days. And, I'm excited. I really can't wait to see what this team looks like with even at like 80% Joel Embiid. It's going to be fun, man. Go Birds.
All right, thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Yeah, 80% Joel Embiid. I'm not looking for that. 100%. It's balls to the wall. You're out there. Let's go. It's go time. I don't know if minutes restriction is going to be something we hear when and if he comes back. I guess we haven't heard minute restrictions for a while. Usually guys come back from injuries. It's, okay, here you go. If you're good enough to come back, you're good enough to go. I don't know with this new regime if that is going to be part of the plan. Maybe it is. But we're hopefully going to get word. I'm just going back to the days of doing what I did. When you get back from a road trip, there's a lot of media that's back here that doesn't get to travel. The team gets back. The coaches get back. It's the first time. The question's going to be asked, what has he done? What did he do while you were away? Where is he as far as the ramp-up process? It was funny. Ramona Shelburne brought up on Friday something that I was always told when I was reporting on the team, the levels of coming back from injury. And it's get on the floor and do some non-contact things. Then it's do some one-on-one things. Then it's do some maybe 3-on-3 with contact things until you ramp it up to 5-on-5. Once that is overcome, boom, such player can come back. I don't know if that luxury can be afforded at this time of the year with Joel Embiid. Now, he could be playing 5-on-5 against the likes of Temple Zone, TJ DeLeo, who is off and around, and other guys. There's other people who played college basketball that are in the Sixers organization. You'll see TJ on the floor before games helping get the players warmed up and stuff like that. They can find guys to run, but I don't know if you're putting Joel Embiid out there with just anybody. You have to be awfully careful about that. So exactly where that is, I do. I think we're going to find out more. I'll go Wednesday, and they're not going to have practice tomorrow. They'll probably have a shoot-around, but maybe even not because you're still resting. I don't know if Nick Nurse and company will want to get them out of bed to get over to Camden for a shoot-around or to the Wells Fargo. I forget which one they do. I think they go do the Wells Fargo Center. Different coaches like to go different places. But whether he gets them out of bed for a shoot-around that day, I would lean towards not. But Nick Nurse loves having these guys in the gym. That Sunday that I went over, Ray, for everybody out there, so I texted the Sixers. We went back and forth about having a sit-down with Nick Nurse, and I wanted to have that for you guys to start this show. And Nick was nice enough to agree to it and all. So when they texted me to say, yeah, we're just going to get on the court for a little bit because they had played the night before, to me, every coach that I've dealt with before and other coaches on other teams, when they just got them on the floor, it was kind of a walkthrough and talk about this, and this is what we're looking through tomorrow night. I got in there early. The Sixers were already on the floor. They're supposed to stay for an hour. I got there right at the beginning of the hour, and you can hear it. You can't see it because you're in another room. They were going. Like, sneakers were squeaking, and plays were being called, and picks were being called out. They were going full bore. Nick Nurse loves that. And it's pretty cool to look on your phone every day to see. I get an update about when Sixers practice is, like a lot of us in the media do. And it's cool to see how often they practice. Now, maybe the players don't think so. But we'll see if he has them out there tomorrow. If he does, there will probably be some answers to the question of where is Joel Embiid. So that's something we have to look forward to. And that's what we'll do.
I will look forward to it, Bob.
Good. I hope your questions are answered, Ray.
We had a question for people.
What's that?
We had a question for people on Twitter.
Oh, we do. That's right. Let's let them know what it is.
Yeah, on the Middays account at 975 Middays. Do you think the 76ers somewhat turned a quarter yesterday? Still really, really on the side of no. 75% saying no, need to see more. But 25% hanging in there. 1 out of 4 saying yes, the urgency was there.
Yeah, something was just different yesterday. And could it be a week from now that I turn to Ray or turn to you guys listening and say, what happened to that effort that they had against the Clippers last Sunday? Like, where did that go? Yeah, that could be the case, too. It just felt like there was something there a little bit yesterday. Maybe they just grabbed onto something. Maybe Nick Nurse said the right thing over the weekend after they lost to the Lakers on Friday night. And, look, I've seen teams respond to that. I've seen teams respond to different things that you say, really? That's what it took? But this one, I think Nick Nurse hit it on the head that they had open shots against the Lakers on Friday night. They just didn't hit them. And he said to them, look, let's keep running what we're running, and we're going to get open looks, and you're going to make shots. And sure enough, they did, and I thought it all started with Tobias Harris. So the thing that I teased going into the last break, that there was something that was bothering me just a little bit, and we talked on it some earlier. I'd love to hear what you have to say. It's 610-632-0975, whether to call, whether it be a text. John Tortorella intrigues me. The things that he's done over the past week, if it came in the middle of a regular season in the situation that the Flyers are in, it's a rebuild. You're looking to establish a foundation. You're looking to see who is made to be in this organization moving forward. All of those things are coming, let alone X's and O's and trying to win games and all of that. I'm not saying you stop that because it's worked throughout the season and now you're in a playoff push. No, you don't change who you are as a coach, and John Tortorella is never going to change who he is as a coach. But do you look at it a little differently? It's this weekend intrigued me even more, and maybe to the point of a little doubt or a little more pondering sinking into my mind. They're in a real playoff push, and the two biggest things coming from the coach over the last 5 days or so is that he sat his captain for 2 games, healthy scratches, and he played a backup goalie last night on the back end of a back-to-back, which is totally understandable. And Felix Sandstrom lets up 4 goals in a game where the Flyers 2-1 outshot Florida. And Tortorella is asked about it after the game and doesn't offer an answer and just kind of pounds his hands like reading into his thoughts. What do you want me to say? The guy sucked. Yeah, I saw what you saw. He shouldn't have let in those goals. Something, but he didn't say anything and walked off the podium. I ask you, there's different ways to look at it. Can you say, well, that's just Tortorella being Tortorella, and he's a great coach. You have to just ride it. Probably the most popular answer. Is it, man, why are you doing these things so late in the season when Couturier may not be playing well, but he's got to be better than 1 or 2 of the centers you're throwing out there on the 3rd and 4th line, and therefore you're not giving your team the best chance to win? Is it a case that maybe even the players are wondering, like, what are we doing here? Or maybe the players are saying, yeah, this guy's got his finger on the pulse. He knows exactly what he's doing. They sat Couturier for 2 games. They won one of those games against Toronto. They had an overtime loss at Carolina. Look, that's win-win. You come out with 3 out of 4 points against those 2 games, those 2 teams, no matter where the games are. That's a good stretch right there. And I just wonder if there's too much of it going on now, or if that was his plan all along. So if you have any reaction to that, I just don't know. And we have a text that somebody wants to talk about it a little bit, Ray?
Frank in Philly wanted to chime in on this one. Said that Torts is being a Harry Hardo, and that the coach is making a bad decision. This is a way that you lose your team.
All right, I'll leave out the first part. I don't name call, and I don't say he's wrong, he's this. Like I said, I look at it. I'm trying to look at this with an even keel. The second part of it, after he said he's a Harry Hardo, then what?
Coaches make you a bad decision, and you lose your team like that.
I don't know. I haven't heard a player say that. I don't think the team has looked like they play like that. Last night was a tough game. End of a back-to-back, and Florida is a really, really good team. And if they're not playing all that well, they'll make you feel it. They hit you after the whistle. They love to scrum it up and all that stuff. That when you're frustrated in yourself and then someone's rubbing a glove in your face, that can wear on you a little bit. I'm not going to say the first part that he's losing. I can't say that. I don't have any indication of that. I've seen no reporter talk to a player that has hinted at that. We've seen quotes all year long. We talked to players before the season started, Ray, when we had the morning show down at Center Ice. We talked to Tortorella, and everybody was on board. Everybody was on board, knew what this whole thing was about, knew that this is a rebuild. I haven't heard kickback from players, so I can't go there. Could I understand if some of the players are, what the hell are you doing? You're taking our captain off the ice. Isn't there a reason you named him captain? Yeah, I could understand if some players are questioning that. And look, that could be all part of what John Tortorella wants also. There's a master plan in that man's mind. And whether we want to believe it or not, I'm pretty positive that there is. There's not many coaches that don't have a master plan, and the ones that don't aren't very successful and don't last for long. John Tortorella's been around for a long, long time. I'm intrigued as to what it is because I don't know what it is. I can't say I understand it because I don't know what it is. And if the success that he's having is the biggest answer we have so far, right?
Yeah, I think the one question I would pose to you, and this can kind of speak to more your experience in covering a team, would now be the time where you've seen the big win over Boston. You had the win over the Maple Leafs. You were able to go get a point.
Overtime, yeah.
Yeah. Would this be the time where you get the disgruntled player, pulling you aside? Is now the time? Or do you think that's something that comes, either with struggles or, after the season or towards the end of the season where you find out that, oh, yeah, that player was disgruntled the entire time? Like, how much of that is right now a conversation that's even presented as something that could be reported and not just totally off the record?
That's a good question also because when the stuff came around with Couturier, he said, I'm not talking about it with you guys. I'm not explaining it to you. You don't need to know the reason why. I talked it over with Couturier, so the two of us are there. If that's the truth, all right, cool. That's cool. I have no problem with that you're one-on-one with your player. You also have to be honest and open with your team when you say, yeah, I'm taking him off the ice because of this, or maybe you don't. Maybe you keep it. Look, I don't have any answers to all this. That's why to me it's so intriguing. I will say that if players are starting to question the things that they're doing, yeah, you have to take another look at it. You have to look to go another way. But is it John Tortorella going to do that? Probably not. I think if we can say anything safely about this Flyers team and about the coach of this Flyers team, he is set in his ways. He's going to do things the way he sees fit doing them. Can you question them? Yeah. Does he have more evidence on his side that he's doing it right? Hell yeah, because they're in third place in the Metropolitan Division. They're in a playoff spot right now when nobody in this city thought that was possible going into this season. So I think it's a great talking point. I just think it's a lot of fun, a really great talking point, and an intriguing guy. So a lot of that's still on the board. Phillies, Flyers. I have some questions for Ray about this weekend and for you also. See what it was like. I asked Amy, I told you, I thought the luster of the NCAA tournament wasn't really there with me. She kind of agreed. She's like, yeah, and went into all the transfer portal and NIL and all of those things. So I want to ask Ray something that I've had on my mind about this weekend, and maybe you'll have a thought on it too. 610-632-0975. This is Middays with Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Sixers, stop the slide. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Silk. Feel plenty good. Shop wherever you find groceries. Silk's delicious plant-based beverages help bring a daily dose of goodness to help you feel
This is Philadelphia's sports station for breaking news. Now, more with Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Welcome back. Middays, beautiful Monday afternoon. Hope you're having a good one. Get rid of this one. There's only 4 more down. Actually, the cool part is you got college basketball on Thursday, Friday again this week, which is absolutely awesome. And speaking of it, it brought me back in. I'm in all the way. I told you last week, and I just brought it up to Amy, that I didn't feel the luster of it. I said it's not going to preclude me from watching games, but it just didn't feel the same to me getting ready for the NCAA tournament. And then I sit down and I watch games, and we start talking about the J.D. Burns of the world and the different players like that, and Golke, watching him play, Jack Golke hitting threes from everywhere, and just I don't know what I like more. If I like watching a team, I'll tell you one of my favorite things is watching a team that you don't know who they're playing, and it doesn't matter. The San Antonio Spurs were like that back in the day when I was covering the Sixers. It didn't matter that the Sixers had won 4 of like 52. They were going to go out there and steamroll the game the way they steamrolled it no matter what. UConn reminds me of that right now. And Ricky just came in. You know, Ricky, growing up in Connecticut, obviously keeps an eye on UConn. Was disappointed a little bit in part of their performance, saying they could have beat that team by 40. Yeah, he's absolutely right, and they let their foot off the gas pedal. But, man, their gas pedal just seems to go down a little bit further than everybody else's to me. And it's a Hurley thing. I saw Danny Hurley's dad coach in high school. I saw those teams play many, many times. It didn't matter if they were playing fifth-grade girls or playing another high school team. They were going to come out and play the way they played and the way they were taught to play. I see a lot of that in this Danny Hurley UConn team. Well, I don't think there's a lot of let-up in them, Ray, and I don't think anybody's stopping them, to tell you the truth.
Oh, come on, Ricky. Really? Can we just enjoy the win? No, not you.
Ricky, okay.
Yeah. Jeez. You won by 17. I understand it wasn't 40 points. Come on. You got the win. You got the win. You're still the overall favorite. I think everyone looks at UConn still as this is really UConn versus the field. In my eyes, at least. Yeah,
I think so, too. When you came away with stories from this weekend, anything in particular sticks out? Like mine are, they steamrolled UConn, and I picked them to win at the beginning of the tournament, and I just still seem to think like, wow, they're really good. Iowa State is intriguing to me. I kind of like the way they played. I had a great line from my old sports editor, Pat McClune, who I really wasn't watching. What was the game last night? Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon game. I wasn't really watching that. I was switched over to something else, and he sent me a text, and he's like, my God, this Grand Canyon game. I said, what's the matter? Are they dirty or something? He goes, no, they're called the Cantaloupes. They look like they play against cantaloupes. Like, is that their name, Cantaloupes? Or something, or antelopes.
Antelopes, I think is probably
And he
closer.
said, not cantaloupe. He said they look like they play against antelopes. There's just different things from the tournament. The kid Kolick from Marquette, point guard, I like him a lot. I like the way he runs a game.
Shaka.
Yeah. Shaka Smart's one of my favorite coaches of all time. They're going to be a tough out. It's just, so far, it's been that. It's been individuals. It's been teams. The only bad thing out of the weekend, and I said it at the beginning of the show, is the LSU women's coach Kim Mulkey. She's I don't know. She's just going to a place where I really don't need to hear, don't want to hear. Stop trying to not make it about you when you're making it all about you type of place. And, she's purporting that there's going to be a Washington Post hit story on her, and she says this reporter's a sleazebag. I am not taking the reporter side because I used to be one. I'm not. I don't think it's the time and place to make it about you, all about you, to run deflection off of a purported story that you think is going to be a hatchet job. You can respond to it in plenty of time when you can leave the girls out of it and all that stuff. And then she comes out with, I did that. My girls didn't even hear that. They were shocked when they read it on the internet. Really? You sat behind a microphone for a half hour and talked about this, and you're saying what? You had your girls locked away? They don't know anything about it? I don't know. It just left a bad taste in my mouth from that point of view. But otherwise, great weekend.
It's going to be all about her soon.
It will be for certain. All right, getting to our Philadelphia Phillies, Raymond. We need to talk about them because opening day is going to be Friday. I'm sorry. It's supposed to be Thursday. It's going to be Friday. I just have a feeling. And a couple weather people are coming out and saying, yeah, Thursday's probably not the day. And maybe we were talking to Ricky a little bit. Maybe you cancel it on Wednesday to get ready for Friday to be the real opening day. I know people are all set, have their tickets. I think the general public would be happier if it's on Friday. I don't know, go into the weekend after going to the Phillies home opener. I'm kind of happy on that.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be great. I would thoroughly enjoy whenever they play this game. I'm looking forward to it either way. I'm an opening Saturday guy. I'm never an opening day guy. I just don't go. Opening day, one, prices. And
you just
two.
Refuse?
No, it's just because I usually end up in a better spot to be able to secure tickets for opening Saturday.
Okay.
And that's usually when I go.
Okay.
I'm one of the few people that doesn't mind the gap day. Like, I get annoyed because I get so excited for baseball and I want more baseball, but this is the reason why the gap day exists. Because probably we're going to see baseball on Friday.
Yeah, and if it was like a Monday opening day and they changed it to a Tuesday and people already planned Monday off, I understand that, and that sucks, and it would suck. But having a Thursday move to Friday, I think people can adjust probably a little bit better on a Friday.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see, because I haven't worked this out in my head. I be honest, I haven't looked at the schedule, but we talked earlier about Wheeler and him pitching ahead of Turnbull. I wonder if that does change that.
Oh, it could.
In the order.
Yeah, very well could.
Because
well, Turnbull's got to be ready.
Yeah, well, listen, he's going to have to be ready. He's going to have to be, a decent part of this team for looks like a month. I don't think you're going to have Taijuan Walker for probably much of April. Looking, I think it was Matt Gelb in The Athletic that was talking about May seems like a target date for, him, the fact that he's not going to be out there early. So you're going to need Turnbull for a couple of, times to this rotation to get you a couple of decent starts.
And John and Andrew were talking this morning on the Phillies, and I think it was John said, why do they kind of get a pass? Why is it that they could have won a World Series and got no hit and didn't, and it was more like, okay, but nobody expected them to be there, and rightfully so. And then the next year you're up 3-1 on Arizona, or 3-2, whatever it was, on Arizona, and you wind up losing that series, and people say, okay, yeah, that stunk, but wait till next year. As opposed to an Eagles team where it's, they get no forgiving. Well, I think somebody answered it perfectly. That's 17 weeks as opposed to 162 games. So that's the reasoning there. You have to hit the ground running in the NFL. In baseball, no, it's okay. So it brought to my mind a question that I wanted to ask. What are your goals for the Phillies this season? Should you have them? I think they're going to be a playoff team. So, something that I'm kind of assured of, is that a goal? Of course, but I think it's one that's going to be gotten rather easily, lack of a better term. I have them over the 90 and a half wins that has been put out there. I think this team's going to be better than last year's, so I have them at 92, 93 wins. I don't, and this drives John Kincade crazy, do I care if they win the division or not? Not really, because if you're playing your baseball, if the Phillies play their best brand of baseball, and the Atlanta Braves go out and win 104 games, much like they did, you can't do anything about it except for what do they play, 12 times?
Yep.
Except for the 12 times you play each other. You could give them 6 losses. That's not going to deter them from getting 104 wins. You can't control what they do against other teams. Baseball more so than anything when it's 162 games. But if I'm having an outlook for this season, I think a legitimate goal, a legitimate expectation is to get to the NLCS. You have 2 juggernauts. I mean, let's face it, the Dodgers and the Braves. You get to meet them and see what happens. Great. All for it.
Begins and ends with being in the World Series for me.
Really?
Yeah, that's what it takes. And I understand, the Dodgers have gotten better. The Braves are still the Braves. But ultimately, you're in a championship window right now, and I need you to be like you. Again, not to take away from the Diamondbacks, whole thing, whatever. You should have been in the World Series last year. You should have been in the World Series last year. The expectation should be to be in the World Series year in and year out right now with the money you've spent on this team, with the group you have right now. I mean, I know we like to think and we like to project out, this is a window that's wide open. I think as optimists, as fans, and I'm as optimistic and hopeful as anyone could be, you sometimes give too much of a runway for a team. It's not that I think the window closes after this season, but I think some people look at it like, oh, yeah, we got 5 years of contention ahead of us. That'd be nice. I don't think looking down the line at this window of contention of like, oh, yeah, this is good, like this is a long open window. I'm looking for the competition right now. You need to be in the World Series this year. And is it tough with what the Dodgers have done? Absolutely. Is it tough with having the Braves in your division? Absolutely. Now, I heard today they were going off about, oh, you can't just bank on beating the Braves like that every year. No, you can't. But you've done it twice. And the Braves have already thrown you the complaint of, oh, it's so difficult to play baseball when you've had a week off. It's so tough. And then when they're asked what they would prefer, they deflect. And it's, no one prefers the wild card series. No one prefers.
No, you can line up your pitchers. You can have everything the way you want it, and it's baseball. It's not like you're putting on skates or having to go, run up and down a court or hit people after having a lot of time off. It's baseball. It's hitting, it's pitching, and it's catching. You can simulate a game.
They tried.
You can do that. Like, it's not. Don't give me that. No, and forget that. So for me, do you have to win the division? I'm looking for this team to win between 92 and 95 games. I really am. Anything over that, I'm happy. I think this is a 92 to 95 win team. They're better than last year. You have a healthy Bryce Harper. You're hopefully having a Trey Turner that wasn't cracked for 3 weeks of the season. You have a lot of different things. You have a healthy pitching staff. Ranger Suarez is exactly where you want him to be. The only concern is your fourth starter. Okay. If I'm going to have a concern, it can be I'll make it fifth starter because he just moved Christopher Sanchez into number 4. I'm optimistic about this team, and that's where I sit. Predictions, division, all that. No, because that's out of control. When other teams are playing 154 games that aren't against you, it's out of your control about how many they win. I just think that this is a 92 to 95 win team that makes the playoffs. And then I want to see them in a National League Championship Series fighting against one of who's supposed to be the best team in the National League.
Quick editorial note for you there. Trey Turner, crap for 4 months, not 3 weeks.
Oh, I meant 3 months. I said 3 weeks.
You said 3 weeks.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, just clearing that one up. I don't want people saying,
I meant 3 months, and I was still wrong.
Bob said that it was a really acceptable season last year from Trey Turner.
No.
But I think that's why you start to project more wins for this team. And when you look at the holes of this team, some people look at it in the pitching and the back end of the rotation. Some people look at the bullpen and have their question marks about it. What are they going to do, close out games? The holes that this team has versus the majority of baseball are like luxurious of like talking about where they don't have pieces. I mean, who's going to be the closer? Oh, well, you have so many guys who have pitched in high leverage situations. 3 or 4 different guys
that can.
Right. We look at the rotation. Your top 3, I'll take up against almost any other top 3 in baseball. And, oh, by the way, Christopher Sanchez showed you a lot last season. There's so much to love about this team that I do think you do let them off the hook if you don't expect them to win a pennant.
I would love to go down the line also and look at teams that have a weak hitting player playing in a position, but he's your everyday player because he's got a great glove. I'll bet you there's a bunch of shortstops out there, second basemen out there, catchers out there. I'll bet you find one on almost every team. They have one in center field. Okay, he might be a Gold Glover. So if that's the biggest problems that you have with the Phillies, I think things are going all right. You have the Phillies season outlook tonight with our own Pat Egan. Is that correct, Ray?
That is correct. 7-9.
7-9. Pat will have you all over the Phillies tonight, which will be awesome. I sent him a text this morning as soon as I got to the office, and I said, I miss you, Pat. And he sent back, and he said, I miss you too, Pop-Up. And I miss seeing his face. But he's a great listen. You got to check him out tonight, give you some great Phillies talk along with some other things. We all know how funny Pat is. We all know how entertaining Pat is. So you got to give him a listen tonight. He'll be on at 6, right? 6 to 10. Phillies season outlook 7 to 9.
Sixers and 60 is at 6 o'clock, and then 7 to 9 is the Phillies outlook, and then from 9 to 10 is Sixers All Access.
I should read the emails closer, shouldn't I, Ray?
That's okay. That's why you have me.
That's right. That's why I have Ray. And Ray, I want you with me all the time. I just want you to know that. All right?
Oh, that's so nice.
When we get back, we'll wrap it up. We'll close it out. We'll talk about anything you want to talk about, 610-632-0975, and recap a lot of the stuff we've been talking about today, maybe with a little bit of a different angle. This is Midday Show. Bob Cooney, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Coming up this week in Philadelphia sports, the Fightin' Phils open the 2024 season.
Hey, everybody, almost closing time here for the midday show as we approached the best show ever at 2 o'clock with Tyrone, Ricky, and Amy. They're out there preparing, get here nice and early. We love that. What did I say?
Tyrone, Ricky, and Amy.
Oh, my God, I'm reading Amy on my list right here because I'm mentioning things. I'm sorry, Jen. Tyrone, Ricky, and Jen, obviously. I was going to say the great day we had today. First of all, being able to be with you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being on YouTube, checking in the different ways that you do. Amy Fudlong in studio with us from 12 to 1. You're going to hear her also tomorrow on the best show ever as she'll join those guys. That's Tyrone, Ricky, and Jen tomorrow. A lot of good John Tortorella talk. You guys are going to hear me do it until the playoffs come and the Flyers are in it or aren't in it and all of the different things he does because he certainly does intrigue me. The Sixers, we put up a poll, and let's do the final count on that poll, Ray, whether the people agree with me that I thought it appeared. I'm not saying they turned a corner. It appeared to me yesterday that they kind of turned a little bit of a corner in the way they played against the Clippers.
Yeah, still only 25% of people agree with you. So our poll today on 97.5 Middays, do you think that the 76ers somewhat turned a corner yesterday? 25% of people saying yes, urgency was there. 75% saying no, need to see more. And looking at the responses here, Scott saying, did Embiid play? Then no. So that tells you about where the fan base is with that. Somebody said, hopefully, Bobby. So that's nice. I know, Bob. You could get upset, but we only got a few minutes for you to get upset.
No, I don't get upset. I just, like when I talk, not when I talk, but the point isn't about Joel Embiid. The point is, can this team get better from what they've been without Joel Embiid and therefore be playing at a good place if he comes back, whether it be a week, 10 days, or whatever. That's the point. Is this team currently constructed? Forget Joel Embiid. They played well yesterday. Did they turn a little bit of a corner maybe in that they're playing better basketball if he comes back? Big game tonight. Sacramento Kings, last one of the 4-game West Coast trip. You will have Kyle Lowry in the lineup. You will have Nick Batum, both of whom, older guys, sat out yesterday in that win against the Clippers. Great game by Cam Payne yesterday. I thought the beginning of the game, the tone was set by Tobias Harris. It just was. He wanted the ball. There were times he had James Harden on him. He kind of snickered and laughed and said, yeah, he's going to cover me. Give me the ball. And they did a good job of doing that. And Mike from Delran pointed out that different plays that they ran, they played against the weakness of the Clippers defense, and that's what a Nick Nurse team does. So I think it's really interesting tonight. I'm a little surprised. 9-point underdogs at Sacramento tonight. So keep an eye on that. It'll be right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. You have Sixers and 60 from 6 to 7. I think I'm jumping on that. 7 to 9, you have Phillies season outlook with Pat Egan. And then, of course, your Sixers coverage will begin after that. One last thing we did today on the show, we had an adoption. And Ray and I did it together, not in the kind of way you're thinking. But we adopted Junior Marte as the Philly of this show. Is that how we're phrasing
That's
it, Ray?
how we're phrasing it, yeah. This is officially the Junior Marte fan club.
We are the Junior Marte fan club. We are the show of Junior Marte. We have adopted him as the Philly, whom we love the most. So we are a Junior Marte show now. So there will probably be little ins and outs of when he makes an appearance, the way Ray and I react. It'll be big talking points. He might be a really big part of this bullpen. He had 9 appearances in spring training this spring and did not allow a run all spring training, Ray. So I think our adoption is pretty safe. I think we're going to raise a good one here.
I'm excited for it. One thing, baseball, real quick before we get out of here. So Shohei Ohtani is supposed to talk with the media today. It's going to be 2:45 Pacific, so 5:45 our time. Will not be taking questions, just reading a statement. So that's not good.
Who's going to be the interpreter? Ooh. Is that a little too soon?
Well, that's for the audience to judge. We're out of here.
Okay, we are out of here. Thank you for joining us here. Midday show, Bob Cooney. Stay tuned. Best show ever coming up. Tyrone, Ricky, and Jen. We'll talk to you tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 2. Can't wait. We'll talk to you then.
Fanatic Sports Update.
76ers win out west. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by AutoZone. Get in the zone. What makes AutoZone America's #1 battery destination? Because they offer free battery testing and charging and reliable replacement batteries. And they've always got your battery solution. Get in the zone. AutoZone. 76ers beat the Clippers.